Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another pair of rounds on a thrilling night of racing action to come in the UK Sim Racing Community's Porsche Cup Season 8, as brought to you on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC, known as iRacing. And today marks rounds 4 and 5 of the Championship Series that continues to ask the question, who is the master or mistress of the Flat 6 German machine? Of course, the Porsche Cup 992 machine, which has recently arrived in the world of motorsport, and it's a venerable machine which our drivers are coming to grips with. And where better to come to grips with the car than today in downtown Detroit, or specifically Belle Park in Detroit, albeit our drivers race on a circuit that's no longer used in real life, with racing in the city of Detroit moving away from the Belle Park and moving into central Detroit as of this year for the purposes of multitude of series including IndyCar. But we're reviving the Detroit Grand Prix at Belle Isle, and what a circuit this is. Renowned for its bumpy road surface, its tight walls, and indeed a narrow road surface to boot, overtaking here is going to be tricky. It's going to be limited to the number of short straights, and it all comes down to absolutely mastering the lap time and time again, knowing exactly how wide your car is, knowing how much speed you can carry from corner to corner, and exactly when to return to the throttle after coming off the brakes. And all in all, it only takes one small mistake from our drivers here in the state of Michigan in order to get it wrong. Indeed, they'll find their campaign in the United States of America, and this conclusion of the US doubleheader may end up going into an abrupt halt if they end up retiring from the races here today. But as our drivers get ready to go racing, we welcome you all to this broadcast being brought to you live from Circuit Side, available only on the official UK Sim Racing Twitch channel, and that's at twitch.tv/UK Sim Racing. And welcome to a good number of you guys and girls already there in the chat, including Ali Racing there, who says, "Evening folks, and good evening to you, Ali, and I hope you're doing well." As our drivers make their way into this pair of rounds, let's give you a quick recap of the proceedings so far and what is still yet to come. And well, just getting ahead of ourselves there slightly, all the racing action over the course of this season will be brought to you by myself in the commentary booth. And allow me to introduce myself, my name is Paul Walsh, also known as TX11 or Britain the Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. But let's look to that calendar then, and as we can see, it's the 19th of October today. Another Thursday comes on around, and after starting off on what was rounds 1 and 2 all the way back on the 28th of September in Brazil at the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache, we stormed away into the midpoint of the season. And well, we opened up on a fantastic pair of rounds, which also saw the introduction of the bronze class. The battling was close between all of our drivers, and as they made the way around the Brazilian circuit, they got to grips with one another in terms of those battles and find out just exactly how close they could run against one another, whether it be in the gold class, where we had the absence of Thomas Cope, the defending champion. Instead, we have the Impulse racing pair of Nicholas Nold and Philip Hammer squaring off against one another, and Corey Lazarus from Blackout Motorsport OPR mixing things up. And meanwhile, in the silver class, it was Jeremy DeBova versus Carl Felbers, where Carl Felbers came out on top there. And in the bronze class, well, we only had one name who was leading the way with double victory, and that was Ben Kirby. But then after our first mid-season break, we returned for round number 3, last time out, the Circuit of the Americas, the start of the American doubleheader, albeit we'll have one more visit to the United States a little bit later on in the calendar. We'll come to that shortly. But on the 12th of October last week, we got to see our first endurance race round, and a round that was earmarked as being practice one, low on the numbers of participating drivers, because nobody felt comfortable with racing for 45 minutes at the Circuit of the Americas. But I can tell you one thing, it was an absolutely packed grid. I think all of our drivers had the same idea, which was if the other drivers are not going to turn up, I can turn up and I can pick up some major points. And it still led to a thriller in the fact that Thomas Cope on his return was able to take the first win of his season in his defence of his title crown ahead of Philip Hammer in the gold class. In the silver class, Carl Felbers may have just missed out on the win versus rivals, with Lucas Romano outstepping him on the penultimate lap, but still Felbers putting up a brilliant display. And in the bronze class, it was once again the story of Ben Kirby making it 3 wins out of 3 ahead of rival but teammate at the same time at Charlie Max. But now today's rounds 4 and 5 at the Detroit Grand Prix at Belle Isle, and after today we make our way to Spain for the Motorland Aragon circuit in rounds 6 and 7, a highly technical circuit which is going to be about avoiding as many mistakes as possible and also trying to get used to direction change in rapid fire. Now we're on the 26th of October, and then we wrap up the mid portion of the season with round number 8, our second endurance race round of the season. We head down under the Mount Panorama circuit, but you all know and love it, and we'll refer to it on the 2nd of November as Bathurst in reference to the local township. And what a way to then go into our second mid-season break before returning for the final 3 sets of the season, starting with the pair on the 16th of November, the heat and feature race rounds of rounds 9 and 10 at the Nürburgring Nordschleife, and then going from the Green Hell in Germany, our drivers will make the way to the fast-flying Italian circuit of Imola on the 23rd of November for the final heat and feature combination round of rounds 11 and 12, and then we bring it all to a close with a classic Road Atlanta. We return to the United States of America for the season finale, and there in the state of Georgia, we're going to be seeing our drivers take on the roller coaster ride of road racing on the 30th of November to bring the curtain down and crown our champions in round 13 of 13. So what a season we have still got ahead of ourselves, ladies and gentlemen, and let's give you a recap of the championship standings after 3 rounds. And as we can see, starting the Gold Drivers' Championship, it is Philip Hammer who leads the way by 10 points over Nathan Foster, with the Impulse Racing driver taking that 2nd place at the Circuit of the Americas and extending his advantage over the Empire Motorsport driver. Foster's consistency has rewarded him well so far in that P2 position, 4 points clear of Olympus XGD6 Oystein Hereford, and then Nicholas Nold at P4 there for Impulse Racing, wishing there a few more points on the board, but still plenty to come over the course of the season ahead of Tim Darracott for Effect Simulations. P6 goes to UK Sim Racing admin teams at Simon C. Bamber on 45 points, only 1 clear of Emil Koopmans at Apex Missers, but when I caught up with him in the build-up to tonight was saying he was all fired up and looking forward to racing at Detroit. This is one of those circuits he absolutely loves from what I gather, and he is 4 points clear of Thomas Cope, who took the win last time out on his return to racing. The Olympus XGD6 driver, we're looking for another pair of wins today to continue to close the gap to the top already, with an effective drop score in his hand, having missed rounds 1 and 2. And then we see Corey Lazarus P9 for Blackout Motorsport OPR, not on the grid last time out. We look forward to seeing plenty more from the New Zealander tonight. Anyway, Marcel Fridge completing the top 10 for WS Racing Esports on 33 points. It's 4 points then to Lee Holmes at ATEC Racing Purple, who we saw return to the grid as the last round and putting on a great display in the ATEC car, and yet score any points, but making his debut tonight, Brian Walker for Satellite Racing, and we look forward to seeing the Brit making his way onto the circuit. He is one we couldn't be without on the grid for the simple reason he may not be the fastest out there, but he gives it everything, there's no question about it. We then come to the silver class standings, and here the complexion is an 8-point advantage to Carl Felvers for HFT Racing. He's proven to be the fastest driver so far, or one of the fastest we should say, and been outstepped by Lucas Romano last time out, but the point being here, the HFT Racing driver really is starting to carve himself an advantage. However, Jeremy DeBow for DBR is not too far behind, but has to be wary of the fact there's only 3 points between him and Ring Physio Sim Racing's Forsten Severt, and well, the 3rd place driver right now definitely also proving that he is one to watch out for, in the fact he has been putting off some absolutely brilliant moves, and his late race pace, particularly in the longer races, is really something that everyone else is admiring. Meanwhile, P4 is Casper Tunstead for Peak Sim Race on 59 points. He sits clear of Lucas Romano, the RPM driver who gained a major amount of points last time out with the class win. And then Chris Eddersford at P6 for UK Sim Racing admin team, currently not finding his feet too rapidly, and indeed I've heard Dan in the paddock not enjoying the Detroit circuit, cannot quite find the pace. Will he be able to turn it around under the pressure when we do go green flag racing? With DDD Valamic for DBR ahead of Sean Cranley Swash, the 24-hour Punty People driver there in P8, having a difficult start to his season. And then Gus Franken for RPM and Glenn Humberstone for ATEC Racing Purple completing a top 10. It's now a further 9 points to Navarro DeBow for DBR, and then we have on 9 points apiece P12, P13, result countback separating the two of them, Roxanne Marshall for 24-hour Punty People and Nicholas Grunstrom for Peak Sim Racing. But then we see Dirt Bounce on 0 points there for RPM, yet to get any points on the board at P14. And as we come onto the bronze class, meanwhile, it is Ben Kirby who leads the way for All Spares by Connexus. He's picked up every win so far, and 6 points clear of Charlie Max, the Friends Racing by Connexus driver, who conversely has picked up every 2nd place finish. Meanwhile, the battle for P3 could be a lot closer. By comparison, McClicks Racing Sean Dobie only ahead of Craig Shield based on result countback. The ATEC Racing Cyan driver looking to gain advantage over the Scotland tonight. Now, as we can see, Mark Cadmore P5 there, a further 6 points behind, with a sizable 18-point advantage over Alistair Hatcher for ATEC Racing Cyan. Next, James Ewan for Iron Brew by Connexus Motorsports on 32 points ahead of Joe Pinder, who then is followed up by Stephen Ray for 24-hour Bunty People and Cameron Smith, who completes the standings there in P10 with 0 points and making his debut in class today. Now lastly, we come onto the Teams Championship standings, and here we can see the complexion is tight at the top. It's 113 to 100 points in the favour of Impulse Racing ahead of Olympus XGDC. We then have a sizable 36-point gap to Empire Motorsport, who lead the way best of the rest ahead of Effect Simulations, with Blackout Motorsport OPR P5 on 38 points, 3 clear of UK Sim Racing admin team, and well, UK Sim Racing admin team only ahead of DBR and Apex Missers based on result countback. Then ATEC Racing Team Purple on 33 points, only a further 2 points behind, and they've got a point advantage over RPM, who in turn are only ahead of HFT Racing based on result countback, and that makes HFT best of the rest outside of the top 10 there in P11. WS Racing Esports P12 ahead of Ring Physio Sim Racing on result countback, both teams on 20 points. They're 5 clear of Peak Sim Racing. Then we see All Spares by Connexus, ATEC Racing Cyan, Friends Racing by Connexus, Clicks Racing, 24-hour Punty People and Iron Brew by Connexus Motorsport completing your top 20. And then outside the top 20, not to be forgotten about based on result countback at the moment, is Olympus by Connexus and Big Sim Racing there ahead of Satellite Racing who've yet to score any points. But that's our standings, brought you up to date so far, and now let's come on to our circuit for today, and it's the Detroit Grand Prix at Belle Isle Circuit. Now located in the city of Detroit in Wayne County of the state of Michigan in the US of A, as we can see from the circuit map provided by iRacing.com. Thank you to them for their wonderful simulator, and with it the brilliant track maps that are provided. It is a circuit which is absolutely packed with twists and turns. A grand total of 14 corners to be precise, and as our drivers make their way around the highly bumpy street circuit, they'll soon realise that these sweeping corners are very tricky to get right. In the fact that most of them do have a raised apex curve, and as our drivers charge away across the start finish line and into turn number 1, they'll see that immediately with the opening right-hander, then followed up by the switch back to the left-hander at turn number 2, where it's all about hitting a late apex and carrying the speed on to the second longest straight of the circuit. Heading down towards turn number 3, while the major overtaking zones available, we can expect some battles under braking, perhaps even 3 wide on the opening lap, and going through the right-angled right-hand corner, our drivers will then make their way into the tightest section of the circuit, which is turns 4, 5 and 6. As they come through the right-left-right combination there, it's all about right-angle corners, and they'll split themselves out of turn number 6 and onto the back straight. Curving its way all the way out towards turn number 7, our drivers will go onto the brakes once again in quite a similar situation, analog if you will, to the braking zone for turn number 3, but there they'll find the circuit tightens immensely once again as they head up towards turn number 8, and all the way through turns 8, 9, 10 and into 11, it's only going to be 1 wide at best, and as they come through the hairpin of turn number 11, it's then the run up towards turn number 12 and 13, where the aim of the game is to carry the speed through turn 12, get it right at turn number 13, and if you nail it spot on, you'll be having the maximum possible speed through the kink of 14 to complete the lap and do it all over again. But just to remind you, the key flashpoints we're expecting today are turns 3, 7, and also potentially the run through 14 up towards 1. That's where the battles will be. But otherwise, this is a street circuit where it's all about your pace and holding track position. We're coming on to our rules and regulations for tonight. Qualifying wise, a lone qualifying format shall be used where drivers have 8 minutes to set their best possible time, and in the races shall commence via standing start, as is the tradition of the UK Sim Racing Porsche Cup. The heat race grid shall be set based on results of qualifying, that's a given, and the feature race grid shall be a partial reverse grid based on results of the heat race with the top 8 positions inverted. So what that means in straightforward English is the winner of the heat race, well, they're going to be starting P8 on the grid for the purposes of the feature. Meanwhile, the 8th place finisher will be starting on pole by comparison, and whoever finishes P9 downwards in the heat race, well, that's exactly where they start on the grid for the feature race. There are no mandatory pit stop requirements in either of the races, and therefore if we see our drivers coming to the pits, it's for one of 2 reasons. Either A, it's for repair work on the car, of which they have 1 fast repair available in each race, or they've picked up enough instant points, 15 or more, to receive a drive-through penalty, and well, nobody will want one of those. That's enough rules, regulation, everything in between. We head back to our circuit side pictures, ladies and gentlemen, and let's take you through our schedule for tonight. Times in British summertime, that's BST, or Universal Coordinate Time +1, UTC +1, and as we can see, in just under a minute's time, we'll be going into that qualifying session at 8 o'clock this evening. 8 minutes, all the drivers out on isolated instances of the circuit to deliver their best possible lap times, and well, they're going to be critical given the fact that track position is so key at a street circuit, and particularly here in Detroit, and therefore when we go into our first race of the day, that'll be the round 4 heat race at 8:10. Could we see our driver who qualifies on pole just run away and take victory, or will they find themselves falling behind before they get to the end of the opening lap? Speaking of that heat race, it's 12 minutes in duration. That'll be at 8:10, as we said only moments ago, and then we'll be taking a brief breather before returning at what will be 8:30 for our second race of the day, and that will be the round 5 feature race. 2.5 times the duration, 30 minutes in duration by comparison, and there are no pit stops expected, but tyre life will be pivotal. If our drivers manage it correctly, they may just be able to hold on all the way to the end of the race and pick up the places where others fall. But it's plenty of racing to come, ladies and gentlemen, and as all of our drivers get themselves set, we do have some newcomers on the grid who will be introducing in short order. With only 30 seconds to go, but we do go into that qualifying session. We look to Jeremy de Boven, the DVR driver from Belgium, as he makes his way on through turn number 6, just taking it nice and easy at the moment. And I do believe that local time currently actually quite late in the day, so we could expect the race, and particularly the second race of the day, the feature race, to end up in the night right towards the end, and that is going to turn things on its head. There's no doubt about it, as we see Ryan Walker from Satellite Racing making his way out of turn number 11 there on his debut. Of course, a regular of the UK Sim Racing Porsche Cup. This is the first pair of rounds he's competed in this season, and we wish him all the best there in the classic liveried machine. But it's time for qualifying, ladies and gentlemen. Place your bets. Who's going to come out on top as our drivers now make their way on to the circuit? It's going to be 8 minutes, and everybody will be gunning for gold in terms of going for pole position. But who will be able to pull it off? That's the big question. And this is the man who we personally think is going to be quite the contender for pole position in the silver class today. Thorsten Safet for Ring Versiert Sim Racing. For the simple reason, the German driver has been growing in pace over the opening 3 rounds, and can he spring some surprises on the likes of Jeremy DeBova and Carl Felvers. Well, he'll be hoping he can do so as we say hello there also to Adrian F, who's cheering on Carl Felvers. I do believe Carl is his son, and welcome to you, Adrian. And it's always great to see a family tuning in to support one another, particularly when it's father-son. Indeed, it gives me flashbacks to the days that when my dad was alive, when he used to support my sim racing escapades. But still, let's park the emotions there right now. Focus on the day as we also say hello to Dippy60, who's wishing everybody a great race and cheering on specifically Carl Felvers. Now, speaking of Carl, and as always, we do like to kick things off by talking about our driver of the day from the previous round. In what was the circuit of the Americas, I should say, as I almost stumble over my own words, Carl Felvers was your driver of the day, picking up 36% of the vote. And we speak about the man, but he's not on camera, and here he is. He goes a little bit deep there and hits the apex curb at turn number 7 for his misdemeanors. As he makes way on around, he'll be buoyant to know that he has picked up the driver of the day accolade from round number 3, and can he carry that on, given the fact he did pick up quite the majority of the vote. And we'll open up the lines for the driver of the day vote much later on in today's broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. We'll let you know when that's available in the Twitch chat, so keep your eyes out for that. But as Felvers makes his way up into the right-hander here of turn number 12, we'll come on through right now to get himself set to go onto his first flying lap of the day. Let's introduce some of our newcomers to the grid today. In fact, let's introduce all 3 of them. We did see only moments ago Ryan Walker, will come back to in due course, but let's talk about a bronze class driver here in the form of Cameron Smith, as he makes way around in the privateer machine in the number 23 and getting himself all set and ready to go is Smith as he heads up towards what is their turn number 7 and into the right hander. You will have seen him on the grid in previous seasons, but he's going for it all again this season, and we look forward to seeing how he gets on here and his debut around for season 8. And can he find a way to pull off some surprises early on, or will he find himself perhaps having to gradually fit himself into the fold? Of course, that's always the big thing, that when you join midway through an active season, you do have to try and fit yourself into the order and figure out exactly where your pace is versus your rivals. And well, as he makes his way around it to go on to his first flying lap, wish him all the best on his debut. And indeed, we wish all the best to another new driver on the grid today, but he's also one you've seen previously. And here he is, the Australian driver from Blackout Motorsport OPR, and well, it is none other than Ben Peterson. A driver who made his debut in Season 7. He was available in the first half of the season. Unfortunately, couldn't commit to the full season, but he did pull off some absolutely brilliant moments, particularly at Circuito de Jerez, where he pulled off some fantastic overtakes in Season 7, and we're very happy to see him on the grid once again, partnering up with Corey Lazarus, as he has a lock up there into turn 7 and gets the car stopped in time. And well, I think now into reverse it, they're almost hitting the tyre barrier as he now makes his way back up to speed. But Peterson was one of those drivers who definitely absolutely daring and not afraid to go late on the brakes. One of the last late breakers, if you will, and I think he's going to try and use that to his advantage today. It's our first time to come in onto the board, and well, we also mentioned earlier Ryan Walker, and we're going to just show you, in fact, I believe Ryan Walker currently in the pit lane with some work going on in the car, and well, therefore we're not going to be able to show you Ryan Walker. We did see him only moments ago, but as our drivers head on around, we do look to some of the lap times coming on in, including provisional pole for Thomas Cope of 30.656, setting that initial bar. Philip Hammer only a 10th behind, and with the Olympus XGD6 driver racing for Olympus Esports and running the special livery there for the whole of October 2023 in support of breast cancer awareness, with October being the official month of breast cancer awareness, and indeed something very dear to the Olympus Esports team. But as we do see Cope making his way up towards turn number 7, once again powering his way on through there, definitely setting the bar quite high thus far. But speaking of drivers who are looking to set the bar soon, we will be getting on board with one of our drivers for the purposes of a qualifying lap to give you an idea of what it's like to put in a lap around Belle Isle Park. And well, I do believe we may be getting a lap on board with this man shortly, and it will be none other than your silver class race winner last time out at the Circuit of the Americas. And here's Lucas Romano here as he makes his way up towards turn number 11 and having to manage the direction change as he comes on through. And this camera gives you that sense of perspective how close he's getting to the walls. Not the closest we've seen some drivers, indeed a bit of whip still there to go, but that is a critique which is easy for us to say in the quarantine booth. I can tell you one thing, when they're in the cockpits of these cars, they have to absolutely get things precise. And you see how close he was to the wall there, and we jump aboard with Romano for a flying lap of the Belle Isle Park circuit. Making his way into turn number 1 and braking there at the 300-yard board down a 3rd gear, sweeps to the right hand and now brings the car gradually over to the left hander in turn number 2, delays the approach at apex there up to 4th gear, a short shift as he hit the apex. You see the bumps in the road unsettling the car, having to fight with the steering wheel as he comes down towards turn number 3 and bringing the car to the left hand side and onto the brakes of the 400-yard board, coming all the way down the gearbox to 2nd gear, takes a bit of apex curb, lets the car run out onto the exit curbing and now into turn number 4. Things will tighten up here. Third gear as he makes his way on around. Now bring the car into the right hand side for turn number 5. Brake nice and early. Drop it down to second gear. Wait for the throttle. Bring on through and then over to the left hand side for turn number 6. You've got to be quick on these direction changes as he opens up the corner and gets on the power. Out of the corner he goes from second gear up to third gear and now charges his way down towards turn number 7. It's been a very smooth lap so far for Lucas Romano as he heads in towards the next braking zone. Now the second half of the lap is unveiled and here braking 400 yards for the corner apex down to second gear, takes a bit of apex curve. They've got to be careful to take too much. It kicks the car forward and gives it understeer into turn number 8 there, a little bit of curve in second gear and now into 9 up to third as he just gradually lifts off the throttle here through 10 as well and now sharp on the brakes here all the way down the second gear, clipping a bit of apex curve there to unsettle the car, but he manages to get the power down as he heads in towards turn number 12 and looking to his left hand side, braking about 210 yards from corner apex third gear, but takes a bit too much curve and as a result that causes the rear of the car to kick round and hits the wall for stability, but that's going to cost a bit of speed as he makes his way now up towards turn number 14, flat out here for the right hander, and it was a great lap until that small mistake right at the end. And will Romano currently P5, would he improve from that lap? I don't think so, in fact he does not, it's confirmed there, and Lucas Romano giving you an idea of how hard you got to push in order to go for a top 10 lap here at the Detroit Grand Prix at Belle Park circuit. But meanwhile he makes his way on down towards turn number 3 once again, currently in the bronze class it's Charlie Max who sits there as your original pole sitter, and with Ben Kirby in the pit lane this is going to go the way of Max, and as soon as I say that the Clicks racing driver from Scotland or Sean Dobie of a 32.232 shatters the sky in terms of the bronze pole lap right now, and can anybody find a way to go even faster, because right now Dobie is looking on course for his first pole position in what is his career on the UK Sim Racing at Porsche Cup, but immediately as soon as I say that Charlie Max responds with 31.801 and with only a minute left to go and no overtime in qualifying. I think that will be it unless somebody else can pull something magical out the hat, and it looks like Sean Dobie there just gradually coming on through turn number 6. I think back in the car off here 9 there's not enough time to get a lap in, and therefore it has gone the way of Charlie Max at this point in time. But meanwhile in the gold class, where it's currently 3.5 tenths from Cope to Hammer, and Thomas Cope once again absolutely delivering a stellar lap with regards to that provisional pole lap, and Cope right now heading towards the timing line. He's going through turn number 12 there up towards 13. In fact that was turn 13, let's correct ourselves, but I think he's coming into the pit lane there even though he's gone purple in the second half of the lap, so I think he feels like there's not much more to deliver. Weston Heifer goes up to P4, Nathan Foster P5, the two of them separated by only 500ths, half a tenth if that, and meanwhile Hammer heads to the line. He's not going to make it, however. Qualifying is complete, ladies and gentlemen. It's Cope on pole, Romano on silver pole, and then it will be Charlie Max on bronze pole. What a qualifying session. And now let's head to the grid for our first racer day. Well, as our drivers make their way to the grid for round number 4 of the UK Sim Racing Porsche Cup Season 8. This is how they'll line up for the heat race in Detroit. And it's Thomas Cope who takes pole position for Olympus XGD6, 3.5 tenths clear of Philip Hammer for Impulse Racing. On round number 2, it's Nicholas Knoll for Impulse Racing, joined by Olympus XGD6 Oisin Hereford. And the two teams there dominating the top 2 rows once again, with Empire Motorsports Nathan Foster a further half a tenth behind in P5, and he'll be joined on the 3rd row of the grid by Corey Lazarus. The Blackout Motorsport OPR drives, then followed up by Lucas Romano, your silver pole sitter there for RPM, whereas Ben Peterson for company on the full throw, starting P8 for Blackout Motorsport OPR. And your top 10s round off by Emil Koopmans to Apex Missers and Carl Felvers to HFT Racing. Now in round number 6, it's Marcel Fritsch for WS Racing Esports, head of Forsten Sifert for Ring Physiat Sim Racing. And now on row number 7, it's Charlie Max, your bronze pole sitter. He brings the Ben Kirby dominance in qualifying to a close for the time being. And the Friends Racing by Connexus driver is joined on the 7th row, P14 by DDD Belaming for DBR. Sean Cranny Swash lines up P15 for 24-hour Punty People, joined by Sean Doe for Clicks Racing, the bronze driver, then being followed up on row number 9 by Chris Edison for the UK Sim Racing admin team, and Ben Kirby for All Spares by Connexus, and then completing the top 20, Alistair Hatcher for ATEC Tech Racing Cyan, and Jeremy DeBova for DBR, with his weakest qualifying performance of the season so far. Craig Shield for ATEC Tech Racing Science starts P21 ahead of Gus Franken for RPM, and then we have Jamie McEwen starting P23 ahead of Ryan Walker, who didn't put a lap in, and then behind them, I do believe, ladies and gentlemen, we'll have Casper Tunstead for Peak Sim Racing, and 24-hour Punty Peoples, Roxanne Marshall starting P26, and Cameron Smith will be starting last but not least P27 there on his debut, the privateer in the bronze class. But the grid is set, it's time for the lights, and as our drivers get ready to go racing, it's going to be out of those lights, 1 red light, 2 red lights, 3 red lights, 4 red lights, 5 red lights, and it's lights out and away we go for our first race of the day. As Thomas Coates to get a good run into turn number 1. It's a short run, and as they come on through, he takes the lead as you would expect. But meanwhile, behind Nathan Foster immediately in the battle, Nicholas Knoll getting a better launch off the line. And as they make the way down towards turn number 3 now, we'll know that versus Foster, it's not over yet. The top 3 may have squared off, but Foster's not done as he goes up the inside under braking. He's going to commit to it. Meanwhile, Lazarus and Peterson behind, sharing the same real estate into the corner. It's going to be Peterson on the inside. Lazarus there, falling foul of the tyre barrier almost. As a result, it's going to be Romano who moves up in front, and as they make the way on throw, well, Noel holds on, grazing the wall there. Peterson looks up the inside, and Ben Peterson going all in here early doors as he makes way on through, and I don't know what he's had for breakfast, but the confidence of the Australian driver already as the Blackout Motorsport OPR driver trying to pick off places there. Can't quite do it on Foster, but Foster will be looking in his mirrors. Meanwhile, Cole Feller's already going on the offensive here, but it's contact as it is going to be the Blackout Motorsport OPR car. Lazarus turned into the wall and sent us straight and around, and well, Lazarus trying to hold the brakes there as they make the way down to the braking zone. That's disaster for Lazarus. Meanwhile, battling the bronze class, we have Shield versus Hatcher. It's all over the place here. That's Dobie almost into the wall. We've got a car round as well. That is, I think, Gus Franken has got it wrong. Then we've got another car. Cameron Smith has gone round across the front of Shield. It's pandemonium at turn 7 into 8. We'll have to get a replay of what exactly's triggered all this off. But meanwhile, looking from towards the back of the field a bit further up the order, after all the chaos into turn 7, right now we can see Marcel Fritsch Racing Esports. He's up in a P10, gaining 2 places in the gold class and 1 overall since the start. And he's got the pressure of Sean Cranny Tross and D&D Delayment going on to the next lap as they power their way through on to what's lap number 2 in this 12-minute race. Marcel Fritsch right now trying to hold on to that top 10 position. He'd love to gain 2 more. Speaking of gaining places, Ben Peterson parked up there on the apex of turn 2, and he's had to be towed to the pits. What's gone wrong with Peterson's car? Not quite sure, but it's even more drama for Blackout Motorsport OPR, and not the good kind, as Miguel Carl Felvers defending it versus Forsten Sved, and Felvers right now trying to hold on versus Sved, who, as we said earlier, watch out for him. The German driver absolutely coming on strong today as they make the way in towards turn number 5 now, and Felvers, I think, stemming the tide. But meanwhile, we have a battle for the lead here. This is Thomas Coates versus Philip Hammer as they make their way through. I think Coates made an error coming through turn 5 into 6, or at least at turn number 6. He's going slowly. Is there damage to Coates' car? And if so, is he having to limp to the pits? Because if so, that's going to release Hammer into lead and let him run away with this so far. And these are going to be critical points. And Coates struggling. I think that car has got damage to the suspension or the steering, because you can see it's just limping round. It's not a confident car, but as he comes on through turn number 9 into 10, can Coates get things back together? He's going to try to versus Nold, but could this just be a little bit of feint here to try and distract Nold from his teammate Voisin Hereford? And the Olympus XGD pair trying to work together here as best they can, and Coates trying to help his teammate out as they make the way towards the end of the second lap. As they charge the way through the right-hander and up towards turn number 1 once again. It's Hammer ahead of Hereford, followed by Noel, then Cope, then your silver leader Romano ahead of Foster, followed by Felvers, then Foster Svet P8, head of Fritsch, followed by Sean Cranny Swash P10, and then Besteres P11, DDD Verlaming ahead of your bronze leader P12 Clicks Racing Sean Dobie. But that's how they stand after 2 laps of racing. Still plenty to come here. The racing is fast and frantic, and speaking of fast and frantic, I think whatever's wrong with Cope's car, he's now got it back together. Perhaps it was an automated slowdown penalty for track limits, but where would he have cut the limits? That's the big question. Well, either way, Cope now up the inside and Noel into turn at number 3, and he's going to get it done here as they come through for great racing room and respect shown between the 2 of them. But Philip Hammer right now, the 2-second advantage, is just tearing away at the front of the field. He's not slowing down at all and just simply trying to disappear off into the distance. But as they make the way up towards turn number, what is there, 7, Lucas Romano here having a bit of a battle with Nathan Foster, and Foster getting the place back off Romano there after a little bit nip and tuck as they make the way in towards the next braking zone. So these two not letting each other go, giving each other any breathing room. But we take a brief breather, ladies and gentlemen, to understand some of the incidents that happened at the start of the race, and in particular we take a look back to what happened to Chris Eddersford on the opening lap. Was in the braking zone into turn number 4, battling side by side here with one of his rivals. Not quite sure who that is by the bronze class. It's a 621, and then up behind Eddersford was one of the 88 Tech cars on the Team Cyan. Eddersford turned to the wall there and rejoins contact with the number 20 car in the form of what was Jamie McEwen. So it's gone very wrong for Chris Eddersford, and then we had the incident for Corey Lazarus, and we take a look back at this, and this was they made the way down, and well, I think Lazarus there feeling as though he had the right to the inside, and in the end Felvers with his nose alongside the rear quarter panel of Lazarus end up turning Lazarus into the wall, and then it all erupted from that point onwards as they made their way into the braking zone. Now, I think a lot of drivers missing their braking zone on cold tyres, and well, it just went wrong for Gus Franklin. It went into the wall, and then for Cameron Smith, turned across the front of Craig Schill. We take a look back from Cameron Smith's perspective in all this happening. You can see Franklin, in fact, coming in way too hot, and in there, misses braking, went and missed a drives Franklin. Smith tries to dodge, and as he does, he gets caught by a Schill who's also down his inside, so Smith not aware of Schill trying to get himself back up to speed, and that's what happened on the open lap, ladies and gentlemen. Meanwhile, for Ben Peterson, we're not quite sure what's happened to his car. We will try and find out, but right now, as we return to your live pictures, that's all the chaos that occurred on lap number 1, but we've still got more to come here on lap number 4. We're not even half the race complete as we look to Oystein Hereford, who right now has teammate Thomas Cope behind, and a bit further back, one man who's on a mission to try and gain as many places as possible here, and start from the very back of the field on his debut. Satellite Racing's Ryan Walker, number 95 driver from the United Kingdom, right now cutting his way through the field very rapidly indeed, like a hot knife through butter, and we're trying to chase down Chris Eddersford here, and it's all for overall position, albeit Corey Lazarus only 2 places behind, also trying to make some recovery after that unfortunate incident on the opening lap. As they head in towards turn number 11, onto the brakes they go here. Again, the concertina effect in play. No real way to find your way through here as we jump on board with the 95 driver of Walker as he heads in towards turn number 12. And onto the brakes he goes. He makes his way on through. You can see Eddersford there, misses apex slightly. Walker will carry a bit more speed here. Eddersford really struggling at this point in the race to get the car to turn on through. I'd be echoing what we heard down the paddock from him in the build-ups as they just not finding the pace. Meanwhile, further up the field, off camera, we have had Cope and Hereford swap place in the battle for P2, and well, they'll be focusing on a 2-3 for GD6X Olympus, as meanwhile, Walk here can't quite close up to Edison, who gets the better run by comparison as they head in towards the next braking zone. It is going to be 2 by 2 they come. DeBova up the inside of Sean Dobie, Edison up the inside of Hatcher, so it's going to be the silver pair who both gain a place on the bronze drivers by comparison as they make their way through. But remember, all points are awarded for what is class finishing position minus in the team's championship, so therefore it does mean that right now the only drivers you should be concerned with are those in your class. Otherwise, randomly drivers of other class, you're only doing it for bragging rights, if that, but it doesn't net you any points in the championship. But meanwhile, with Peterson and Marshall both retired from this race, Craig Schultz in the pit lane. In fact, he's leaving the pit lane now with repair work done to the car, so we still have 25 or 27 starters on the field. And as they make their way onwards here in towards the second half of this race, Edison right now, I'm not quite sure what has given him the pace. I think the pace has been galvanised by the pressure of Walker behind, but I can tell you one thing, Chris Eddersford now on a tear as he tries to find his way past Dobie for P15 and then go hunting after the Bova for what will be P6 in the silver class. But as they make their way out to turn number 11, from them to a bit further up the road, this is Muscle Fritch being attacked by Sean Cranny Swash, swashing down the inside into 14. He's going to get it there, and Cranny Swash absolutely going for it, sticking to his guns, and Fritch I think letting it go, realising there's no real value in fighting it right now. And to be fair to Marcel Fritch, if he finishes where he is in class position, he'll be taking a P6 in gold class. It'll be his strongest fish all season thus far, and some good points on the board there for the Austrian driver as he heads on down. But meanwhile, on the rear of the picture, you can see there, that's the Apex Mrs. car of Emma Koopmans. On the left of your picture, the Dutchman looking for the move up the inside there of Charlie Max, the bronze leader. And Max is not really putting up the fight here, recognising the fact there's no value in doing so. But meanwhile, it's 2 by 2 season once again into the braking zone. That's Ben Kirby being passed by Corey Lazarus, who's missing a rear wing on the car. And keeping in mind, these Porsche 992 Cup cars have very little downforce, minus the rear wing and some small aerodynamic adjustments over the rear of the car. It does mean that missing that rear wing for Lazarus is going to make that car incredibly unstable on the corners, and Lazarus somehow finding a way to keep it nice and steady as they come out to turn it number 6 and onto the back straight they go. The one thing that Lazarus will be grateful for is no rear wing does mean he has a little bit less drag on the straights, and that could just enable him to put a bit more pressure on him. Right now trying to put some pressure onto Ryan Walker as they enter the braking zone, and that's for what is gold P8 between the two of them here, or P18 overall as New Zealand that tries to find a way through. But again, on the tightest point on the circuit, it's going to be better said than done as they head in towards the left-hander. Coming on through here, Lazarus literally glued to the back of Walker's car and looks up the inside there, trying to force the issue into the hairpin. They both go round, and as they do, more cars come into the scene the instant, and that was also Ben Kirby, and I think what it was, Jamie McEwen getting caught up, unless I'm very much mistaken. In fact, I think it's Casper Tunstall will correct ourselves there, but the Peak Sim Racing driver also getting caught, but Kirby losing his front bumper, and we take a look back at what exactly happened. Was it right on board here with the car of Ryan Walker and Satellite Racing? You see coming into turn 11, I think Walker gets a full run. Lazarus looks up the inside and the serve and get very close together, and then Walker's turn and well pushed along in the end. I think that's Ben Kirby who made the contact. We look at it from Ben Kirby's perspective. Meanwhile, the on board here, keep in mind, of course, he does have Tunstead right behind him, so he'll see what kicks off here. And well, you can see Lazarus looks at the move, can't quite find it, but there's contact, and then Kirby trying to squeeze away at the inside, thinking he can just safely go around the inside of the pair of them, and in the end almost turned into the wall there with further contact with Tunstead as they got racing. And Kirby flashed his lights, not happy with that. I think Tunstead feeling so, well, we're going racing once again, surely. But the four drives there, I think they may all get a bit of a call into the stewards room after today, how that was negotiated, and there might be a slight slap on the wrist for some of them. But meanwhile, as they make the way on through here, return to your live pictures, 1.5 minutes to go, and with the time remaining, most of our battles now are starting to calm down to a degree. I think it might be the calm before the storm, indeed, as we see white flag waving there. Philip Hammer goes on to the final lap of racing in round number 4 here today in Detroit, and right now holding an advantage of 1.6 seconds. He's just set a personal best in this race, albeit it does seem as though Thomas Cope is the faster driver. In fact, he owns the fastest lap right now, the 30.01 to the nearest 100th versus Hammer's at 30.13 to the nearest 100th. So both drivers are pushing on as best they possibly can. But right now, Cope trying to close the gap, and I think trying to send a message here to Hammer, which is, okay, you had the better race number 1 here today, but remember, I am the faster driver, and I'm going to be starting ahead of you on the grid when we line up side by side on that full throw going into the second race. Well, for Hammer right now, he won't be thinking too much about that. The one thing about the German driver we do know from Impulse Racing is that he's absolutely stoic in his approach to each and every race. He focuses on the job at hand and knows what he has to do. But meanwhile, speaking of one driver who knows what he's got to do, Edison right now trying to pick up one more place versus Sean Dobie, who gives him all the space there at turn number 3. And Edison right now moving into P15, but knowing that Jeremy Doyle is 4.5 seconds up the road, so Edison just trying to give himself better positioning going into the next race of the day, albeit he will be starting at what will be P15. He won't get any benefits of reverse at grid. That's only for the top 8 drivers. And speaking of our 8th place driver right now, this is the man who may be starting on pole position if all goes well in the final half of this lap. Forsten Savet for Ring Gazette Sim Racing. It'll be a 3rd place in silver class and what will be that P8. But meanwhile, as he makes his way out of the last couple of corners here, ladies and gentlemen, give a round of applause to Philip Hammer, who comes to line, and it's the first win of the day here for Impulse Racing ahead of Thomas Cope P2 for Olympus XJD, and it'll be Nicholas Nold who makes it an Impulse Racing at 1-3 ahead of Oystein Hereford P4, and it will shortly be Lucas Romano who comes to line to take the win in the silver class. They're P5 overall for RPM ahead of Nathan Foster. Carl Felvers the runner-up in the silver class, P7 ahead of Forsten Savet. It'll be your reverse grid pole sitter for the next race of the day. Sean Cranny Swash P9, Marcel Fritsch P10, Didi Devlane P11, Emil Kuntz P12, and then it is going to be a new name at the top of the stands in the bronze class for the first time this season. It is Charlie Max of Friends Racing by Connexus, who finally picks up his first win here in round number 4 ahead of Jeremy DeBova and Chris Eddersford. And it'll be Sean Dobie and Alice Hatch who complete that bronze podium. We've still got some drives to come on through, ladies and gentlemen, to complete their races, including Jamie McEwen, the Scotsman for Iron Brew by Connexus Motorsport, having a difficult first race of the day, but still gaining some places at P5 in class in the MP22 overall, ahead of Gus Franken. And then it will be Cameron Smith, who right now in a car that's definitely being battered and bruised, and another bruise added to the left-hand side of the car there as he comes out of turn number 13. I don't think he's going to be too pleased with how this race has gone, but still at 9 there's more to come here as he heads towards the timeline, and it will be a P24 or P6 in bronze class for Smith in his first race of the season. And then Craig Shaw will be our last finisher, indeed last finisher of the race and last finisher on the lead lap, and it will be there none other than P25 or P7 in the bronze class. But what a first race of the day, ladies and gentlemen, and the great thing is we've got another one of those coming up in approximately 2 minutes time. But let's give you a quick recap of those finishing positions before we do go racing once more. And as the results appear on screen, as we can see, Philip Hammer, your winner for Impulse Racing overall and in the gold class by 1.2 seconds over Olympus XGD6 Thomas Cope. And there was a further 4 seconds, in fact, 4.2 seconds to be a bit more precise, to Nicholas Knoll for Impulse Racing, who made it a 1-3 for the team. Oystein Hereford P4 for Olympus XGD6, ahead of Lucas Romano, your silver winner there for RPM in a great top 5 finish as well. And he had a 2-second advantage over Nathan Foster, with the Empire Motorsport driver keeping Carl Felvers at bay. Run up in the silver class for HFT Racing, and Forsten Savet P8 there will be your reverse grid pole sitter for our second race of the day, but he's also your 3rd place finisher in the silver class for Ring Gazette Sim Racing, completing that silver podium of what was Romano, Felvers and Savet. Now, Sean Cranny Swash ahead of Marcel Fritsch to complete your top 10, with DDD Valamic for DBR Bester SP11. Then Emil Koopmans P12 for Apex Misses ahead of your bronze winner, Charlie Max, who picks up his first win of the season for Friends Racing by Connexus. He lost it in the feature race at what was the Interlagos circuit, but he's found it here today at long last. And then at DBR's Jeremy DeBova, P14 ahead of Chris Eddersford, with Sean Dowie and Alistair Hatcher, P16, P17 for Clicks Racing and ATEC Racing sign respectively. They were second and third in the bronze class to complete that bronze podium of Max, Dowie and Hatcher. And then, as we can see, to round off the top 20, Ryan Walker, Corey Lazarus and Casper Tunstead, with P21 to Ben Kirby, James McEwen P22, and then your last finishers on the lead lap, Gus Franken, Cameron Smith and Craig Schill. 25 lead lap finishers, and we had 2 retirees, ladies and gentlemen, of Ben Peterson for Blackout Motorsport OPR after that opening lap. We're not quite sure what went wrong, and Roxanne Marshall, who wasn't able to make it to the grid. But as our drivers now get themselves set to go racing at once again, and it is going to be another race coming up very shortly. We look at James McEwen. It's going to only be about a few seconds away, folks, so we haven't got long to wait. And right now making his way in towards turn number 7, but I don't think he's ever going to get there. And then he heads on through. Right now we are hearing that there has been some sort of error with Ben Peterson's sim racing equipment. He's been able to get it repaired, I do believe, so we will see him on the grid for our second race a day. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, our drivers get ready to line up, and this is how they'll line up for the feature. So it's Marcel Fritsch who takes what is there, I believe, reverse grid pole. Indeed, it is reverse grid pole there for Marcel Fritsch for WS Racing Esports, and I believe it's been an inverted top 10, not a top 8. We apologise for that. Seems though something has got lost in translation. But the WS Racing Esports driver will take P1 on the grid, ahead of Sean Cranny Swash, who starts P2 for 24-hour punty people. On row number 2, it's Forsten Severe and Carl Felvers, who will then be followed up on row number 3 by the pair of Nathan Foster and Lucas Romano. Now on row 4, it's Oystein Hereford and Nicholas Nold, with the top 10 being completed by Thomas Cope and Philip Hammer. Hammer being, of course, your overall winner in race number 1. DDD Valamic starts P11 ahead of Emil Koopmans on the 6th row of the grid, with row number 7 going to Charlie Max and Jeremy DeBova. Then it's Chris Eddersford and Sean Dowie on row number 8 ahead of Alistair Hatcher and Ryan Walker. Your top 20 is completed by Corey Lazarus and Casper Tunstead, with Ben Kirby starting P21 ahead of Jamie McEwen. But the grid set, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to go racing. We'll have to stop going through the grid, and as we await the light, it is going to be 1 red light, 2 red lights, 3 red lights, 4 red lights, 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go once again here as our drivers get underway, but it's a slow start for Sean Cranny Swash, who bogs down on the line as they make the way through the opening corners. We'll take a look back at that very shortly, but meanwhile Cranny Swash all out of sorts. They're coming through too. A bit of contact there. Oh goodness me, it's got very wrong, and that's Cranny Swash who's pointing in the wrong direction. There was contact with one of what was the Impulse Racing cars, not quite sure which one. I think it was with Hammer, but meanwhile 3 wide here between Romano, Cope and on the outside Foster. They're going to negotiate safely. Romano's not done yet. Cope's still in the mix as well, and as they make the way into turn number 4, it's been drama once again on the opening lap here. A bump with the wall for Romano, but he holds ahead of Cope. But Cope comes back on the inside into turn number 5, and Romano can't cut it back this time, and Cope gets it done, and Romano with some damage to the car as well. That may hurt him in the long term as they all make the way into turn number 6. Charlie Max on the outside there, Emil Koopmans holding position as they now make the way up towards turn number 7. But charging away through at night time is descending here in the city of Detroit, and that's only going to complicate things even more as Corey Lazarus makes his way on past Alistair Hatcher. Into the braking zone they go, and everybody coming charging on in. I think something's going wrong for one of our drivers going into the escape road there. In fact, we can confirm, and that was DDD Valamic off camera, who's fallen into the escape road in towards turn number 7. But meanwhile, as everything begins to stabilise, we look to the front of the field, and this is Marcel Fritsch, who's had a great start to this race, got a good launch off the line, and right now settling into the rhythm. And that's the thing with this feature race, you have to just get through the first lap, get yourself set up and ready to go, and then from that point onwards, it's all about car management and seeing where the pace sits versus your rivals. But meanwhile, behind as they head on to lap number 2, well, there's one man right now who's not going to wait behind Forsten Severe, and that is Carl Felvers. He looks at a move, but it's a poor run through turn number 1, but gets the cut back through 2, interestingly. But that's going to make up for the time he lost in the opening corner, and it's not going to get him any closer. In fact, he is now going to have Oystein Hereford right on his heels as Hereford looks up the inside here, going into the braking zone. Will Hereford be able to put off the move? Felvers right now says no. He'll hold the outside line, get the racing line hooked up, and get it said and done to make the defence, but this will buy us a bit of time and perhaps enable the silver class leader to start to pull away a little bit as they head into turn number 5. But meanwhile, further back, Emil Koopmans starting to break away from Chris Eddersford, closing up to the next back. Charlie Max, meanwhile, You can see there the all red and black car being chased by Corey Lazarus of Blackout Motorsport OPR, and Lazarus right now continue to make some headway as they head in towards turn number 6 and onwards. But as they do, we do have a few items to dissect with regards to our race start, including Sean Penny Swash, who seems to find a gearbox and neutrals by comparison with his rivals, and we have a replay coming up on that. And here is, well, in fact, before we get the replay, this is Lazarus making a move up the inside of Max, and we expect that may happen, and a swap of places there. But meanwhile, Øystein Herford going very slowly out of turn number 8, so it's gone wrong there for the Norwegian driver for Olympus X Geodese, and that's been all the way back down on P9 towards the battle for the top 3 of the overall field. And right now the 37 driver languishing further down the order. As meanwhile, Lazarus looking for another move here. Always Chris Edison, he can't quite find it, but Lazarus right now not holding back any punches here after being sent to the wall in race number 1. And right now looking for another mover as he makes his way onto lap number 3 and charging on through the long right-hander of 14. Well, right now hands to waiting formation, but you can imagine that when he comes up towards turn number 3, he may be looking for the move. And speaking of potential moves, Emil Koopmans under pressure as they come through too. That was Edison trying to look for a quick gasp around the outside as they power their way on the straight up towards 3. You can see now Edison being reeled in by Lazarus. Lazarus switches to the inside, they're under braking, they go. And as they do, Lazarus here fully committing to the move and saying, Chris, if you're going to turn in, you're going to expect me, but he overcooks it. And as they make the way into the next corner, Edison now looks back up the inside, and I think he's going to be saying under his breath right now, just hold it together, you might be able to get this back. But Lazarus in the end does shut the door firmly as they come into 5, and will Corey Lazarus getting it done, not the way he wanted it to, but he's got it done all the same, and that's another key place gain. As meanwhile Max, they're getting very close for comfort on the back of Edison's car and almost understeering into the outside wall out of 6. And all the bumpy nature of the road here has now given us an opportunity to see what is Max versus Tunstead, but behind Alistair Hatcher is closing up rapidly, and Max is going to hold ahead of Tunstead here. The Peak Sim Racing driver can't find his way through, but as they come through turn 17, we've got a car pointing the wrong way, and that's forced the Severus having to hold the brakes there in the worst possible place to get it wrong, and that's going to put him all the way down the order. As well, the patience is admirable for the 76 driver, and what on earth has caused that? That's the big question. We've got a load of questions to answer here, ladies and gentlemen, and as our drivers make the way to lap number 4, we're going to start answering those questions, beginning with what happened to Sean Cranny Swash over the start line. Well, here's the replay. Well, as we sit on board with him, building up the revs there, and then awaiting the lights, and as he went to go green flag racing, a lot of wheel spin there, and in the end Cranny Swash just having to try and get the car under control, and you can see with that wheel spin in the end just the car bogging down, having to go in a second early to temper it, and then over the grass down the curve. That won't have done the suspension any good, and then contact with what I believe was the Impulse Racing car. I think in fact that was Nicholas Knoll, not Philip Hammer, but either way Cranny Swash's race over really before he even got started. And then we take a look to what happened between Ben Peterson and what was here, I believe, well in fact this was Peterson coming on through, and a tap there from what's Gus Franken, so Peterson being turned the wrong way, so it's been a difficult start for Cranny Swash. It's also been a difficult start for Peterson, and then later on that lap we had an incident for Cameron Smith and also Craig Schill, and Will Smith made his way down to the braking zone here for what was turn number 3 on the inside of Franken, going all in, and in the end losing the rear of the car after hitting the apex curve at too high. Not quite sure how Craig Schill was involved in that. I believe that may have been a bit later. In fact, Craig Schill into the barrier there off camera, so Craig Schill getting caught up there at turn number 3, and then we had an incident for Jeremy DeBola into turn number 7, and this is all on the first lap, ladies and gentlemen, as they made the way into the braking zone, and as he went in here versus Charlie Max, missed his braking, went very, very deep and into the tyre barrier, and DDD Blaming, who was trying to rejoin after taking to the escape road, found his teammate there at the worst possible time, so the DPR drivers tripping over one another, and then a lap later, this happened to Øystein Herford at the same corner sequence, so going through 7, A-OK, then going into turn number 8 onto the brakes, he went a little bit deep there, and the car just let go. You can see the bumps in the road just unsettling the car, and almost Hammer following him there in to the back of Hereford, and well, that goes to show even the best in this field can get it easily wrong. We also had an incident for Jamie McEwen on that lap, and this was into turn number 7 as he made his way into the braking zone, hits the apex curve. Well, that was absolutely fine. So coming into turn number 8, this must have happened, and as he did so, misses braking point, goes a bit deep and caught into the barrier, and then forced and spit the last huge moment here as he made his way in towards turn number 7, and well, the trees obscuring our view, goes a bit slowly, and a tap there from Lucas Marder, and then Nathan Foster comes into the back and expedite things, and the Civet going around there, and I think he'll be fuming with that one, but well done to that man to hold on to his brakes. we did step away there for a whole series of replays, ladies and gentlemen, and we return it to your live racing pictures. Now lap number 5, and I can tell you there's been a bit of a shake-up in the field since we looked away, in the fact that Marcel Fritsch now down to P3. Thomas Cope and Carl Felvers are ahead of him, with your gold leader of Cope ahead of your silver leader of Felvers, and Fritsch P3. We have also lost Lucas Romano from what was the top 10. He's now down to what is P19, so I'm not quite sure what's happened to the RPM drive. We'll get you an update on that very shortly. In fact, we do have a replay queued up as to what happened, but Fritsch right now under huge pressure as we look to Nicholas Nold and Emil Koopmans towards the back of this group, and Nold in particular, who is at the back end of it, and there's Koopmans a further 1.7 seconds behind, and we're just ahead of Nold is none other than his teammate Hammer, but these guys running nose to tail as they wind their way on through turn number 2, and it's night time now. Almost night time as they make their way towards the next braking zone, and Nold here looking around the outside. Hammer staying on the outside here, I think, in order to give Hammer the opportunity to just take the race line, almost signalling to his teammate, look, I don't want to fight, I want us to gain more places here, we've got to work together in order to make momentum. And as they come on through turn number 5, untowards 6 they go. Well, right now Nold all over the back of Hammer as they come through the left-hander, but the point being that both of these drivers are really trying to put the pressure onto Foster and Fridge, but Fridge right now being absolutely brilliant, as bold as a rock in terms of actually making that car as wide as possible. But saying that, as they head on down the back straight here, it is going to be side by side between the Empire Motorsport car of Foster, and it's going to be Free wide here as Hammer tries to open the door up, but in the end he backs out, knowing that Free does not go into one at the best of times. And as they come out of turn number 7, it will be when it's there Foster who gets the move done. Fridge on the inside, Hammer goes around the outside, briefly Free wide coming out of turn 8 into 9, and as they do, it's the reverse Moses manoeuvre there from Impulse Racing versus Marcel Fridge, and the WS Racing eSports driver is Rob Blind, and these taps on the rear by Corey Lazarus, and they all coming to the back of one another, and nobody anticipating there that they were all going to have to stack up in such a rapid haul of succession. And in the end it will be Fridge who loses out massively, but there's damage on the cars now of Lazarus, of Coopmans, of Hereford and Eddersford, so they'll all be now into nurse front end damage and rear end damage for the most part, and it is, you could not make it up there in terms of all coming together. And that's what happens at street circuits such as Detroit, in the fact that when somebody gets it wrong, if they're all very close together within a second of one another, then it's going to lead to a chain reaction of some description. But meanwhile, Casper Tunstead here trying to now capitalise from the chaos in front of him by making some more places. Starting with a move around the outside here down towards turn 3 on Charlie Max, but can he get it done? When he heads into the braking zone here, feel confident he can get it done. Ryan Walker just behind Max there in the rear of the picture as they come on through it. The rear discs absolutely glowing red hot there in Tunstead's car, and well, I would imagine that he would have moved the brake bias quite far to the rear of the car in order to give it extra rotation around here. But has he pushed those brakes a bit too far? Could we start to see a bit more overheating as time goes on? When he heads in to the right-hander at turn number 6, Fridge right now falling away from the leaders and falling back into this battle, and really now the next driver that Tunstead's got to try and find a way past cleanly. Meanwhile, behind Ben Peterson all over the back of Alistair Hatcher, and this is a P14 as the Blackout Motorsport OPR driver looking for it under brake, and he's going to get the inside line into turn 7. Can he get it stopped in time? Yes, he can, as he heads in towards turn number 8, and as he comes up through the left-hander, we take a moment to say hello to a good number of you we haven't said hello to in the Twitch chat, including Simon Bamboo, subscriber for Prime. Thank you for that, Simon. I've been subscribed for 3 months, we do appreciate it. We also say hello there to Roxanne Marshall, who's watching, not able to participate this evening, unfortunately, and well, as our drivers head on through, we also have clarification that there, Dippy in 60 is the mother of Cole Felvers, so we do have mum and dad both tuning in for Cole Felvers, and well, we'll come to him shortly. But meanwhile, we've got to focus on the man who's under huge pressure here, and that is Marcel Fritsch, who right now has got Tunstead looking around the outside into turn 1, and Tunstead goes for it, and despite the scratches on the side of the car, it's not going to dismay him as they come on through, and it's a beautiful move from Casper Tunstead, and he moves up to P10, and I think that is going to be a move that will prove pivotal. You can see Tunstead defending, he does not want Fritsch to find a way back through. He knows that if he does, then Fritsch will just cost him even more time in this race. And remember, we are only 11 minutes into this race, 30 minutes in duration. But right now, every minute, every lap is pivotal here if you want to close up, because finding your way past another driver at Belle Isle Park is something you have to earn. It is not easy to do so. The overtaking opportunities being so limited, it comes just as much from pressure you put on and getting a mistake out your rival as it does your outright pace. But as they head in towards turn number 7, we look back to Ben Peterson, who's on the back of this battle and right on board with the 881 driver from Blackout Motorsport OPR, and we're glad to see he's got everything sorted after that unfortunate retirement in our first race today. right. He definitely was looking to be a force, as meanwhile Tunstead being passed there by Fridge at the very front of this group, being on side by side, surely not, between Walker and what is there, Max is still side by side, coming into turn 9. Peterson's thinking about it, he's thinking, can I make it 3 wide? And I mean, he's thinking, no, that's going to be absolutely crazy. And as they come into turn 11, all right, now Max defending hard, Peterson just missing the wall there by a hair's width, my good. I'd imagine that left-hand side wing mirror, it might be holding on by a thread right now, as they come through turn number 12, and as they make their way on around it onto another lap, these guys absolutely jumping at the bit to make places. They're not afraid to try and make moves where you don't make moves here at Belle Park. And I can tell you one thing, Peterson, I think he was definitely thinking about 3 wide through that corner sequence of turns 8, 9 and 10. But then I think a voice or an angel on his shoulder said, no, you definitely do not. And right now, letting the voice in his head take over, he's going to be saying to himself, right, I've got to make this move on Max whilst I've got a chance. Looking up the inside here versus the British Mercedes onto the brakes. It's going to be all in there for Peterson and gets it done as they make their way in towards turn number 4 now. And Peterson moving up to P13, but as they head to the brakes, we've got a car round, and that is going to be, I think, pointing in the wrong direction. None other than what is there. Well, goodness me, we're trying to understand which car that was, and that was Karen Smith who's gone around, I do believe, after making quite a bit of progress, and Smith in the end turned the wrong direction. But how exactly was it made in terms of the contact, or was it his own volition? Here's the replay, and let's see. As he made his way down into the braking zone here, coming hot onto the brakes, and the 23 driver misses braking point and hits the wall, and as he does so, oh goodness me, and that was contact further on through for what was Lucas Minor and Jeremy DeBoer being the first to make the contact in the 23. Nightmare moment there, and meanwhile we return to your live pictures. We've got a car pointing the wrong way. That is coming out of turn number, I believe, 8 and 9. That's Casper Tunstead, whose race is going from good to bad to disastrous. The Danishman right now will definitely, you never want to be pointing the wrong way at any point on the circuit, but definitely not through turns 8 into 9. That's rare, and I think there might be a bit more to that than meets the eye. We will try and get a replay on that when we can. Not even at the halfway point yet, but right now the 104 driver having things scuppered very quickly indeed. But as he makes his way up to speed, meanwhile we look from him to Nathan Foster, P3 for Empire Motorsports, second place gold driver. Cole Felix in the bottom of your picture there, your silver leader being caught here by Foster. But the big reason why we're focused on this is because right now he has the Impulse Racing train of Hammer and Knoll behind, and right now the Empire Motorsport driver from the United Kingdom being made to work incredibly hard here to try and hold on. And despite it all, as they make their way down the back straight for the 10th time of asking, and as they head up towards the next braking zone, well, Foster, I think, will be thinking, okay, what have I got over my rivals behind? And by the looks of things, I think Foster may be running a little bit less rear wing, given the fact he was able to open up the gap there. He does have the toe of Felvers, to be fair, albeit the toe of Felvers at 7/10 won't be too noticeable. It's normally half a second closer where the toe really starts to become more pronounced. But Foster here pulling away on the straights. I think that extra rear wing, if he's able to maintain track position coming through the corners and doesn't make any major errors, it may just keep him safe for the majority of this, and we'll have to wait and see how the tyre degradation starts to pan out in the closing stage of this race, and whether he's got the tyre life to match up with the straight line speed this car definitely has. As they make their way onwards towards the next lap, with Felvers there being closed very rapidly, and Felvers in fact putting it off of the racing line. I think Felvers playing it smart here, knowing he doesn't need to fight with the gold class drivers after what was a lot of fighting in the class of the, well, battling with the gold class last time out of the circuit of the Americas, and Felvers was enjoying it versus Foster, but it cost him what was the win in the class last week in the Texan State circuit. I think today Phil was definitely learning from that one and realising, okay, as much as I want to fight with them and show them that I've got gold class pace, I should say, in the silver class, Phil was here playing the game of what's more important, and it is that silver class win. There's no question about it. But as they make the way on through, Phil was almost hitting the wall there as he catches the car. Meanwhile, Hammer and Nold chasing after Foster look absolutely composed as they head up towards turn number 7 this time. And right now, I think Hammer and Nold just trying to find a way to create a chink in the armour of Foster, but the Empire Motorsport driver having no such issues so far as they head in towards turns 8 and 9. But from them, we do have Marcel Fritsch being passed there by Ben Peterson for P10 overall. That's P8 in gold class. It's a bit of a change of position as they head up towards the next braking zone, going in towards turn number 7 here. And will Fritsch just continue to lose previous places little by little, but from them, this is Jeremy DeBova and Lucas Romano. These two have been working together some time, and the two sister teams are RPM and DBR. RPM being represented by Romano, meanwhile DeBova representing DBR, but the point being here that these two are just trying to recover their way up the order in this race, both of them having a difficult start in the opening 10 minutes, and in doing so, they're currently P3, P4 respectively in the silver class. They're targeting Chris Eddersford, who is the best part in front of them of what is 8 seconds, I do believe. In fact, it's 10 seconds practically from Romano to Eddersford, but they still can gain that time as time rages on here with 13 minutes still left on the clock. As they head on to the next lap, we do look from them to Nathan Foster under pressure here from Hammer, who's had the better run out of 2, going into 3, but Foster's on the outside line here into 4. Can he get the door shut in time? He can. Hammer backs off there, but Foster having a little bit of an oversteer moment on power and corner exit will defend the inside of 5. Hammer tries to look around the outside, but it's near impossible to get it done there, and that's the driver defending makes an error, and right now Foster once again managing to nail this defense. And to put you in the perspective of the pace right now, these guys are lapping a second a lap slower compared to race leader Thomas Cope. Such the pace that Cope has, but also such is the defending that Foster is having to put in here in order to hold on. And now for Foster, it is going to be 12 minutes, approximately what will be about 7 to 8 laps remaining, where he's just got to simply try it every time to nail his corner exits and keep the Impulse Racing pair at bay to bring home what would be his best result of his UK Sim Racing Porsche Cup career, and I believe his first ever podium as well. But as they make their way in to the right hand return, which, well, you can see there Hammer getting closer and closer every single time, and now trying to put the messages on to Foster. It's going to be a question of when, not if, I can get alongside you and make that move happen. It's all the mind games here as they head in towards turn number 1 on lap number 13, and coming in to that braking zone. Well, once again Foster feeling safe this time as they power their way down towards turn number 3. But on the charge here, you can see Hammer now starting to get closer, nice and tight, tucked into the toe of Foster's car. Looking up the inside there, thinks about it once. Will he think about it again? Is this the dummy? No, it's not in the end. Meanwhile, from behind, in the battle for Wiz P12 here, or P11 we should really say. Overall, Max is the P12 driver trying to chase down Marcel Fritz with Ryan Walker just behind, but your bronze leader comfortably in the lead of the bronze class by the best part of 4 seconds over Alistair Hatcher. As we show you those class standings here, ladies and gentlemen, the class positions as Walker looks up the inside of Max. The overall position here, that is going to be P12 exchanging hands. Walker now moves up, but the point being here that right now Max does have 4 seconds to Alistair Hatcher, who is a little bit further back, and there you can see Alistair Hatcher, albeit night time right now, hiding the cars to an extent, but we'll keep our best eyes on them where we can with all the technology and data we have available. But meanwhile from them, we have had a battle for position here going into turn number 8, and that's Hammer looking around the outside. That's a P2 in the gold class. He's going to carry around the outside, and now Noel's going to try and do the same. Nicholas Noel goes for it, but he can't make it happen, but Hammer does make the move happen for P2. So one member of the Impulse Racing team has found their way through, but can Noel do the same now as they head in towards what will be turns 13 and 14? That's going to be the change that confronts him. Will we take a look back at exactly how the move was made? And here's the replay, ladies and gentlemen. So as they came through turn number 7, it was a mistake from Foster. He went overly deep into the corner, and that gave Hammer the confidence to go around the outside, and Foster on that inside line in the end already having the pace of the race dictated to him by his rival as they made their way down into the braking zone for 9, 10 and then 11. Hammer there having to work hard to get it done, and we'll credit where it's due to Foster putting up a great defense, but one small mistake and that's all Hammer needs in order to get on through. But me will return to your live pictures, and as we do, there's a car going quite slowly there, and that's Nathan Foster, who's had a bump with the wall coming out of turn number 3. That's dropped him all the way down to P4 in terms of gold class position, but in terms of overall position, he now has Corey Lazarus right behind him in the battle for P5 overall. And well, we can see there the Briton and the New Zealander constantly nose to tail as they come through the couple of corners. A bit of a craze on the wall there for Lazarus as he made his way out of turn number 6, but Lazarus is charging, and as they head in towards turn number 7, we're going to take a brief moment, ladies and gentlemen, to let you know that voting for your driver of the day is now open. Indeed, if you want to charge onto the Google form and let us know who your driver of the day is, it is available in the Twitch chat, and all it is 2 simple clicks. Click on the link once, click on that, then your driver from the drop down list, and click submit. So 3 clicks in fact, and when you do that, you can let our drivers know who was your driver of the day, and we will announce it at the start of qualifying in the round 6 and 7 broadcast in a week's time. And could it be, say, Nathan Foster with his absolutely resilient defense thus far that is now wilted away to a degree, or has somebody else caught your attention finisher today and deserves the Driver of the Day accolade. Do let us know. Votes close at midnight tonight, British Summertime or UTC at +1. That's Universal Coordinate Time +1. But coming back to all of the action playing out on your screen, folks, as we do look to Ben Peterson here, it is Blackout Motorsport who are on the charge in the final third of this race, with only now 8 minutes of racing left to go, and tyres will be starting to feel the pain. And indeed, whilst we've had relatively cool conditions by comparison with what we've seen previously in other rounds, where it is still one of those scenarios whereby pushing hard around here and with the open and the extended corners that the Detroit circuit does have, it means that tyre wear does become quite noticeable. But as I head in towards the braking zone here, Peterson gaining another place overall, head of the silver driver Chris Eddersford, but the second place silver driver, they're not losing any class position, given the fact the only driver ahead of him is Carl Felvers in class up in P4, and then the third place silver driver Jeremy Dover is P15. But meanwhile, looking up from them to what is here, Charlie Maxey heads in towards the left-hander of turn at number 5. Well, he has got Alistair Hatcher 6.5 seconds behind, so I think he's feeling quite confident here that it is going to be a safe race to the end for the 621 Drive for Friends Racing by Connexers. Meanwhile, we're hearing that Thorsten Svet has had to be towed to the pits due to an incident, and well, as he is towed to the pits, let's find out what's happened, because it has led to his actual retirement from this race, unfortunately. Well, here is the Ring Sim Race driver from Germany going left too wide for a brief moment with the car, I believe, of what was Gus Franken, but then Svet missed his braking zone entirely and goes all the way onto the tyre barrier there at turn number 3. And I wonder whether he missed his braking zone or whether his brake pedal failed, because that car looks like it was not stopping. I think that's why there's been the retirement for him, as he now unfortunately looks ahead to the next 2 rounds in a week's time. And well, they'll hopefully get an idea of what exactly happened a little bit later on if we can. But meanwhile, returning to the here and now, we've got some more gold class battling. This is Marcel Fritsch versus Ryan Walker as they charge their way onto lap number 16. And well, the clock's still ticking down here as they make their way through turns 1 and 2. There's been a bit of an incident for Emil Koeman's going out to turn at number 3. He's lost a place to Oisin Hereford for P7 overall, but staying with this battle between Fritsch and Walker switches the inside. Can he find the move for Satellite Racing? No, he can't at the moment, but Fritsch staying absolutely on his racing line, sticking to his guns there, not feeling the pressure. And as they head in towards turn number 4, I think he'll be feeling as though now he can just simply control the racing line on through the narrow segment of 4, 5 and 6, where he makes his way out onto turn number 7. As they come for his right-hander at turn number 6, you can see there's the sparks fly. Walker very close. In fact, Walker the closest he can ever be on the run out of turn 6, and this will be a golden opportunity for Walker to find his way through as he peels the outside here. Side by side they go in the run down the curve straight and in towards the brain zone. Walker on the right, Fritsch on the left. Fritsch goes defensive. Walker's going to get the cut back here, looking to the inside into A, and Fritsch tries to shut the door. He squeezes the door shut there ahead of Walker. I think Walker won't be too pleased with that. Meanwhile, Charlie Max on the battle with this now, your bronze leader, looking at this and thinking, can I try and play as part of this? I think right now his team are going to be telling him, as much as it's tempting, don't get involved. You've got a big enough gap over the bronze class second place driver Alistair Hatcher not to get involved in this and just sit behind. But the temptation will be definitely there, and he will be feeling it. There's no question about it. But as they make their way towards the end of the lap, it's not over yet between what is there, Fritsch versus Walker, as they head in towards the next lap, heading in towards the next right-hander at turn number 1. And will Walker close once again at 5 minutes still there, but can he find a way through for P9 in the gold class? And that's the change that confronts him. And right now, Fritsch doing everything right, and again the gap, only 1.5 tenths. They come out of turn number 2. Fritsch defends the inside. Walker this time will be able to get his nose ahead into the braking zone by small order. Onto the anchors they go, and Walker in the end will get it done. Or will he? No, he outbrakes himself, misses the tyre barrier, but as he does so, it's going to be Charlie Max now who tucks in behind, does not get involved in this. Meanwhile, further back, Casper Tunstead versus Lucas Romano coming through turns 1 and 2. Romano inside to outside, and it's going to be a move done by Casper Tunstead. It's going to be done on Casper Tunstead, I should say. He's flashing his lights there, so he's not happy about something with regards to the race, or alternatively, is he just trying to distract Romano? Well, either way, well, Lucas Romano moves up to P4 in the silver class, P18 overall, but I think we have a replay that may put a little bit more context onto how this all started. And this was Casper Tunstead making his way down towards turn 3 on the previous lap, as I'm to be informed, as they head into the braking zone, with the Peak Sim Racing driver just missing his braking zone entirely, and then managing to recover the car just in time. And in terms of the move being made on what was Casper Tunstead by Lucas Romano, this was the subsequent move into turn number 1. Romano from quite far back goes all pull in, and in the end it's a fair move from Romano. So I think Tunstead just trying to flash his lights there to distract Romano into the braking zone for turn 3, but Romano not falling for it. A brilliant move from the 39 driver from Belgium. So as we return to your live pictures, ladies and gentlemen, we look back here to Casper Tunstead, still trying to chase down what's Gus Franken, who is a lap down in P22. So Tunstead right now having to clear the quote-unquote back marker and then make his way on through. But I think in fact letting Franken hold the position. No, he's not really got the pace to pass him perhaps, or at this point just settling for his P5 in class. But meanwhile from them, we look to the Impulse racing pair of Philip Hammer and Nicholas Nold as they head in towards the braking zone for what is turn number 7 for what will be the 18th time. I think we've got 2 more runs of the lap after this one, and from them we've had Corey Lazarus find his way past Nathan Foster at the same corner, and Lazarus getting it done. I think Nathan Foster locking up into the corner from what I'm hearing from one of the trackside watchers, and therefore Lazarus up to P4 for Blackout Motorsport OPR. And what a drive this has been from Lazarus, and to put it in perspective, ladies and gentlemen, and indeed for Blackout Motorsport as a whole, not just Lazarus but also Ben Peterson, as we show you the places gained and lost by drivers over the entirety of this race. Look at that for Lazarus, 15 places gained from P19 on the grid, and for Peterson 17 places gained. The two of them have been absolute masterclass stars in terms of cutting their way through the field, and I think they've definitely earned these points come the end of this race, as the checker flag will beckon in due course, but they've still got to get another 2 laps on the board. But meanwhile, speaking of beckoning right now, this is the battle for P2, the runner-up spot in the gold class here, and it is between Hammer and Nold. And will the teammates right now, they kept the gloves on for the best part of 25 minutes of the racing, but I do wonder whether the gloves might be starting to come off now as they head into these closing stages. Of course, they'll fight fairly, they won't want to take one another off the circuit or really put each other into the wall, but at the same time they'll both be looking to be the number 1 driver here today and get the better points. Flashing lights there for Nold, I think he's trying to send, where's a little bit of distraction now, trying to get into the psychological head of what is their Hammer as they make their way into the braking zone. Well, can he do so? No, he can't, and instead Hammer just holding his line as they make their way through 7 into 8. And well, as with Thomas Cope, the best part of 16 seconds clear, and right now holding that lead position, these two really scrapping for where they're going to sit on the bottom 2 steps of the podium. Coming out to turn at number 11, Noel doing a bit of a poor run there, Grays with all as well. Hammer meanwhile feeling a bit more confident with the car, and therefore able to extract the gap up to half a second. But as the white flag gets ready to wave for them, it's already waving for Thomas Cove as he's gone on to the final lap of racing here today in the Belle Isle Park circuit in Detroit. And as our drivers make the way onto this final lap, still some battles to come, including there Lucas Romano up the inside of Craig Shield into what is turn number 6. I think Shield going quite slowly there. I'm not sure if Shield's had a bit of an incident or whether these two had an altercation, but either way, Shield definitely going slowly coming out of 5 into 6, and Romano the same. It looked to be, albeit defending very hard, they're coming up towards 7, and then finally going back to the racing line. I think Romano just eager to make some more places before all is said and done today, but as he comes out to turn number 8 in towards 9. Meanwhile, we look back to Sean Cranley Swash. It's definitely been a difficult day today for the 24-hour Punty People driver as he makes his way through that left hand and losing that whole multitude of places off the line with what was that wheel spin at the start, but still he'll learn from that as he tries to find a place versus Ben Kirby before this is said and done. That's overall P18. But just behind them you can see Casper Tunstead, and then another set of lights follows up behind, and well, here is your race leader, ladies and gentlemen, Thomas Cope, and as he heads in towards turn number 12, it is going to be what will be an opportunity here to gain even more points for the fact he didn't quite take the victory in the first race of the day, but it's a return to winning ways in race number 2 of the day as Thomas Cope will make it the win in the round 5 feature at Detroit. It's a classic win and a header class win for the Olympus XGD6 driver, and he will take victory by 16 seconds in the end over the Impulse racing pair of Philip Hammer and Nicholas Nold, who will finish in that order to round off your golden overall podium. P2, P3 for them. As Nold follows on through there in the camera, it'll be a P4 for Corey Lazarus from P19 on the grid. What a way to go for the New Zealander ahead of Nathan Foster, who finishes at P5 for Empire Motorsport. And then it will be Oystein Hereford at P6 in the class as he makes his way across the line there for Olympus XGD ahead of Emil Koopmans. Carl Felbers comes on through to take the silver class win for HFT Racing. Another win in his bank account then. Huge points to be scored for the 77 driver from the United Kingdom in front of friends and family today. Ben Peterson completes his race to P9, and with it 17 places gained from that P26 start. Chris Eddersford takes the runner-up spot in the silver class, P10 overall. But we have to look to this man, ladies and gentlemen, making another win and 2 out of 2 today for Friends Racing by Connexus in the bronze class. Charlie Max, who brings a bit of equilibrium versus his rival and sister team driver Ben Kirby. Ahead of Jeremy DeBova, Alistair Hatcher finishes the runner-up in the bronze class. Ahead of Sean Dobie, the Clicks Racing driver, kept Hatcher honest every step of the way, but it wasn't to be today in terms of that second place, but he'll still be pleased with that podium finish. And then still to finish their races at Ben Kirby as he comes to the line, and he will battle in side by side with Sean Cranny Swash to the line and gets... Well, he just misses out there versus Sean Cranny Swash in the battle for P17, but Kirby will take it in what is P4 in the bronze class, ahead of Casper Tunstead. And it'll be Craig Shield who finishes P20, and he'll be your last lead lap finish here for ATET Racing at Team Cyan, ahead of the driver who finished a lap down the end. Our last finisher of this race, Gus Franken, P21. We had multiple retirees in the form of Marcel Fritsch, DDD Valami, Thorsten Svet, Cameron Smith, Jamie McEwen and Roxanne Marshall. But as all of our drivers here calm on down, or indeed cool their cars down, Thomas Cope delivering some donuts, absolutely pleased with his performance here, and having started from what's P9 after that second place finish in the first race of the day, well, it's immediately back to winning ways in the feature race, and Cope in the end didn't need to be asked twice to try and run away with the win here. Philip Hammer P2, however, will still know some big points on the board for Hammer today, and therefore Cope's still got a lot of work ahead of him if he wants to close Hammer down. Meanwhile, Charlie and Max there, well, he'll be pleased. 2 wins in the bounce, and an absolutely brilliant job there for the Friends Racing by Connexus driver. And it was he makes his way on through turn number 12. The 621 driver will know that his championship campaign has finally seen him take 2 wins in a row, and therefore he's starting to strike the balance versus Ben Kirby. But as all the drivers head into the pit lane, ladies and gentlemen, let's take you through those race results subject to any Stewards inquiries, and here they are. So after 30 minutes of racing in round number 5 of the UK Sim Racing Porsche Cup Season 8, as brought to you on the Premier Sim Racing platform, available only on PC, known as iRacing, and brought to you from the circuit of what was the Detroit Grand Prix at Belle Isle today. Thomas Cope making it the win in our second race for Olympus XG at E6 by 15.5 seconds over Impulse Racing's Philip Hammer. Nicholas Knoll completing the Impulse Racing 2-3 on that podium, and that's the overall and the gold podium covered together. Head of Corey Lazarus P4 for Blackout Motorsport OPR, and he'll be thinking today, oh, what could have been if he had not had that major incident in the first race of the day? Could Corey Lazarus perhaps have even been having a double podium here? Well, that's a what-if question, which we'll never be able to truly answer, but Lazarus will know that he did very well to recover, and the team will be giving him a huge pat on the back for that. P5 for Nathan Foster for Empire Motorsport, who did very well to hold on to P2 for what was the opening 18 minutes of the race, but in the end, an unfortunate mistake started to see all the armour he'd built out wilt away, and for Nathan Foster, still a P5 finish. He'll be pleased with that one, there's no doubt about it. Head of Olympus XG at E6, Oystein Hereford, and then Apex misses P7 driver there of Emil Koopmans, finishing just ahead of HFT Racing's Carl Felvers. And a special mention to Felvers in the fact your silver class winner there in number 77, and a great drive from Felvers, no doubt about it. Head of Ben Peterson for Blackout Motorsport OPR, and the Blackout Motorsports drivers both doing phenomenal drives from the back of the order all the way up into the top 10. Peterson gaining 17 places in the second race of the day, and Chris Eddersford at P10 there for UK Sim Racing admin team, and with that the runner-up spot in the silver class. Ryan Walker P11 for Satellite Racing, battling hard with silver, gold and bronze tries all equally, and then we can see just behind him Charlie Max P12 there for Friends Racing by Connexus, making a double class win today in the bronze class. Congratulations to him. Just ahead of DBR's Jeremy DeBova, your silver class third place finisher, to complete the silver podium of Felvers, Eddersford and DeBova in that order. Alistair Hatcher, P14 for ATET Racing at Cyan, runner-up in the bronze class there ahead of Sean Dobie, being kept honest every step of the way today, and they complete your bronze podium. What is Max Hatcher and Dobie, with the Clicks Racing drive being followed up by Sean Cranny Swash after that unfortunate race start, not quite able to recover his way back into the race in the end, but still ahead of Ben Kirby, Casper Tunstead, Craig Shaw and Lucas Romano. And Lucas Romano being P20 there, your last lead lap finisher, and in your last finisher of this race, finishing a lap down at Gus Franken for RPM behind his teammate of Romano. We also have multiple retirees in this race, including Marcel Fritsch for WS Racing Esports and DDD Valami for DBR. They both finished 3 laps down as classified, and they will be classified as race finishers as they did complete over half the race distance. The same for Forsten Safir, the Ring Physio Sim Racing drive, with that unfortunate error into turn number 3, which saw him go straight on in the braking zone. But with 6 laps down, he'll be classified as a finisher and will be taken what will be P9 in the silver class, and then we can see Cameron Smith there 11 laps down the privateer, and given a grand total of what was 20 laps were completed here today, it will mean that Cameron Smith will be classified as a non-finisher, as will Jane McEwen and Roxanne Marshall. So 27 starters, but in the end a grand total of 21 finishers. What a second race a day, ladies and gentlemen. And as our drivers now get themselves all cooled down and head back into the pit lane, and indeed they'll be in their pit garages talking to the team and having the debrief, it gives us time to firstly say that the votes for driver of the day are still open, and don't forget to vote for your driver of the day, with votes closing as of midnight tonight British Summer Time, that's BST, or Universal Coordinated Time +1 UTC +1. It's a simple 3 clicks. Click on the Google form link, click on the name of your driver from the drop down list, and then click submit, and that's how you vote for your driver of the day, and we'll let you know who was the driver of the day from Detroit as of the start of qualifying in next week's broadcast. We'd also like to take this moment to let you know that if you have been enjoying the racing and you want to support UK Sim Racing, well, the first thing you can do to show your support is by following us on Twitch. It's easy to do. You can welcome to even subscribe if you'd like to, but no pressure to do so. And also on top of that, there's a way to support UK Sim Racing outside our Twitch channel, and that is via our affiliates. For UK Sim Racing is affiliated with multiple sim racing and real-world motorsport companies, including Swilly Meta Sim Racing Coaching, Race Anywhere, and Amazon. And if you do head to our website, which is uksimracing.co.uk today, and that website will appear on the screen right now, and there it is in its glamour. Well, there's a link in the top right corner which will take you to our official Discord. Now, why would you want to join the official UK Sim Racing Discord? Well, there's multiple reasons. Let's give you two of them. The first one is the fact that if you ever want to be on the grid for any of our one-off, or alternatively our league-based events, you will need to be part of the Discord to be able to attend the pre-race drivers' briefings. It's a mandatory requirement. But also secondly, and perhaps more relevant to today, is the fact that if you do go onto our Discord, our affiliates provide discount codes on there which are only available on the official UK Sim Racing Discord. And if you use one of those codes as part of your purchase, well, it puts you in pole position to receive a discount on your purchase, which is a win for you. And on top of that, it's a win for the UK Sim Racing community, because we are a non-profit organisation, and what that means is that every penny we make from the kickback from your purchases, indeed those affiliate purchases, will be funded into the community to fund future events, including one-off events, but also on top of that, what is the ongoing and upcoming leagues, including the Porsche Cup, which you've seen today, the multi-class GTP GT3 League, and plenty more we have planned for the remainder of 2023 and onwards into 2024. So do remember, a little purchase can go a long way in supporting UK Sim Racing. And right now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take a brief breather before we return for our post-round interviews. Don't go anywhere. They'll be coming up in approximately 10 to 12 minutes time. We'll see you shortly. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back then for our post-round interviews with our volunteer drivers. And today we're going to be hearing from 3 drivers, 2 silvers, 1 gold. And we're going to be starting off from hearing from our silver class championship leader going into tonight, and a driver who will have retained his lead going out of this round, none other than the HFT Racing's Carl Felvis in the number 77. And then we'll be coming on to Thomas Cope in the gold class for Olympus Esports Vanguard, who put in another great pair of performances, perhaps not perfection today, but came close to it, albeit not in the heat race. And then we'll be hearing from Chris Edison from the UK Sim Racing admin team, who despite his struggles in qualifying in the heat race, finally found a way to strike back strong in the feature race and bring home a P2 in class. Without further ado, it gives me great pleasure to have Carl Felvis join me in the interview room, albeit I think we are having a slight technical glitch with regards to being able to bring him into the interview room, ladies and gentlemen, so we might have to go with a bit of a plan B here. We're going to try and work our way around that. Give us a brief moment. And all these little technical issues do occur every so often on the night, but as we get ready to hear from our number 77 driver, definitely has earned his confidence today in terms of his performances. And apologies just for going briefly silent, ladies and gentlemen, but just getting this all sorted out for our interviewee. In terms of the fact, we have no slight technical issues, but we will get this all set, given the fact we can't quite bring him into the interview room at the moment. So we're going to have to do things slightly differently on the Discord. And in fact, as we now finally get the opportunity to speak to the man of the hour in the silver class. Good evening to you, Carl, and what a day of racing it has been today in the city of Detroit. Looked tough out there, but still able to find what was going to be, in the end, a second place in class of the heat race and the win in the feature race. You must feel proud of your achievements tonight.
Oh.
You're coming through, Carl, I can hear you.
Oh, hello. Sorry, you cut out there, Paul.
That's no problem at all. Just saying that tonight, whilst Detroit is a difficult circuit, you've definitely earned a major set of points for that second place in the heat race and also that win in the feature.
Yeah, I think Detroit is a really difficult circuit, being so tight and in the streets. It makes racing really difficult, and I think managing to do so well in a class here is really an achievement. I think the main part of these races is just keeping out of trouble as much as possible. Obviously, you saw Lucas got into a bit of trouble, and I think that's what gave me the win in the feature race.
Well, speaking about staying out of trouble, but of course, first up is qualifying, and it's the place where you've got to go looking for trouble, or more so, getting as close as possible to the walls without making contact with them. And in the qualifying session, we saw you qualify at P10 overall, P2 in class, but it looked as though in terms of the qualifying times, whilst there was a lot of pace out there from yourself, it wasn't quite enough to step close to Lucas Romano, who in the end was able to out-qualify you to silver pole by the best part of what was there, I believe, half a second. Just take us through qualifying from your perspective.
I think qualifying, I was really struggling to get the pace. I think I didn't put enough fuel in for my first run, and then having to go back to the pits and then warm up the tyres again. It doesn't make it easy, but Lucas just had the pace in qualifying and had that speed, and I think you do really need that at a circuit like this.
Indeed, and just with regards to driving around here and in the qualifying session being able to nail the lap, what is it that makes this Detroit circuit hard in your opinion? We've heard some talk about the fact the walls are really firm and the fact you make the slightest graze and it will knock the steering out of alignment. Others talk about the bumps in the road, but what is it for you that makes Detroit a difficult circuit?
I think it is the bumps in the road. I think the walls are fine, and then the bumps just put you off. You'll be going through a corner and you'll hit a bump and then go into a wall, and I think that's what makes it really tricky, just having to try and maneuver around them and keep your line while not hitting the wall is just, yeah, it's a really enjoyable circuit to drive when you get it right.
And that enjoyment carrying forward then into our first race of the day, and we saw in the early stage of the heat race, whilst it didn't quite work out for some drivers, you were able to make some early progress, albeit constantly in the hunt, chasing down Lucas Romano.
Yeah, I think early on in the race there was some...
Oh, I think, ladies and gentlemen, we may have... Oh, I think he's coming back.
Oh, I think this weather might be hitting me and making my internet go funny because I keep cutting out, so yeah.
Well, do apologise for that, Carl, and of course the weather trying to keep you at bay from us, but we'll try and carry on all the same. If not, we can always have another chance to chat with you as of next round. But you're just saying there about it being a bit difficult in the early stages of the race.
Yeah, I think there was some contact, and I mean the stewards will look at that, but from my point of view, there was not really much else that could have been done. And then from there, it's just a case of trying to catch Lucas. And once I realised I wasn't going to catch him, I think staying 2 places behind him really helped because it would put me 2 places ahead in the reverse grid. And I think that's what I was aiming for. I knew second place in the class would be decent points, and I didn't need that first necessarily, so I just stuck with second and then focused on the feature.
And speaking about focusing on the feature race, of course, a top 10 reverse grid today, and with that 7th place finish, that would put you P4 on the grid. So great opportunity to go for the win from the outset.
Yeah, I think it really good at the start. Someone in front of me had a pretty poor start, to be honest, so managed to gain a couple of places and then just started picking off moves as they came. And once Thomas caught me, he helped me get past someone, and then I just let him pass because Thomas is gold, and you saw the pace from Thomas, it's just unbelievable. And there was never going to be a fight there, so focused on letting him pass and then carrying on the rest of my race.
Now, when you're running in P2, I have to ask you a question which it may give you some flashbacks to the circuit of the Americas, and apologies for this. You had the likes of Nathan Foster, Philip Hammer and company closing up behind you with only 10 minutes of the race to go. Was there the temptation to fight them?
No, I think my main plan was just to let them back past me because I think if you're in gold class and you've got a silver class ahead of you, it's really annoying when the silver class tries to fight, especially when it's a three-way battle. So I think I was just planning to let them pass and carry on their battle and then carry on the rest of my race.
I see, and a sensible decision at that, not just for your gold peers, but also for yourself in terms of being able to manage the car all the way through to the end. And then running behind other drivers, albeit in a bit of a lonely track for yourself, what's helping you keep your focus on not scraping the walls? Because it's so easy with a minute bit of concentration loss to have contact with the walls at Detroit.
I think I had the stream on, to be honest, on the top monitor, so I was just listening to that and listening to what was going on in the rest of the race, and that was helping me focus on the rest of my race.
Well, indeed, an interesting approach there to keep the attention span locked in Detroit, and well done to yourself for bringing on home the win there with no mistakes whatsoever in the feature race, it must be said. But of course, another pair of podiums today, including one win, gives you a major points haul as we make our way through the mid-portion of the season. In a week's time, we'll be making our way over to the circuit of Motorland Aragon. How are you feeling for the very technical Spanish circuit?
Yeah, I think I've never actually driven Aragon, so it'll be interesting to drive once I get it soon, and then it should be a good race. I've seen a few videos of the track, and it does look good for battling and all of that, so it should be fun, and yeah, hopefully we do well there as well.
Indeed, at the rate at which you're pushing the championship, I think you are becoming the firm favourite in the silver class. And just a quick thought on that at this point of the season, leading at the championship and becoming a favourite, is that what you expected at this point in time?
Not really. I mean, I've never done this Porsche Cup Championship here before, so I wasn't really coming into it knowing what to expect. But to be leading the class already early on is definitely an achievement, and definitely going to try and keep this going forward.
Well, Carl, we look forward to seeing whether you're able to keep that momentum in a week's time in Spain. But just before we do let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast tonight?
Big shout out to my parents and all my family. I know they're all watching tonight, and I know they enjoy these streams. So yeah, big shout out to them, and also my team who have been supporting me through this whole series.
Well, Carl, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you join me in the interview room. Congratulations on your performances in both races and qualifying today. A second place in the heat race, a win in the feature race, definitely setting the bar very high as this season continues to make its way forward with the rounds to come. And we look forward to seeing you in Spain in a week's time to see whether you can continue to carry that championship momentum and perhaps even go a step further and make it a double win. But until then, have a great rest of your evening and all the best as always.
Thanks, Paul.
So hearing there from our silver class championship leader coming out of tonight as well as going into tonight of Carl Felvers. And we do apologise there for the brief delay in being able to interview him due to the technical issues we had on Discord, but also there the interruption midway through the interview. But it does sound as though in his local vicinity the weather at the moment intervened. It does happen every so often, but it's great to be able to hear from Carl in at the end. And what a set of thoughts to have. Starting with qualifying and the difficulty of qualifying, not really matching up with the arrival of quite a lot of strength in both the heat and the feature race, but still having to grow into that qualifying session and knowing in the end that P2 was not too bad, and then having to fight upwards from there in the first race of the day. Albeit a bit of contact with drivers around him in the heat race, but still taking a P2 and a P7 overall, set him up for success in the feature race. And after a slow start from the driver in front of him of Sean Cranley Swash, who he was referring to, the 24-hour punty people driver really yielding what would be the lead of the silver class to Carl Felvers, where it was the HFT racing driver not to look back and just run away all the way to the finish. But great also to hear his insights in terms of the gold class drivers around him and really focusing on and letting them through or using them to help him gain positions and then just simply focusing on his own battle. And I think that is going to be the difference between him being championship leader and championship runner-up if he carries on this form. But as we now come to our second interview, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be going from hearing from our silver class driver of Carl Felvers to our gold class driver of Thomas Cope. And as he gets ready to join me in the interview room, well, it's going to be interesting to hear his perspective on definitely what has been another night of achievement. Albeit as he joins me now, I do have to wonder whether perhaps perfection was the key today. But we're going to hear from the man himself from Olympus XGDC or Olympus Esports Vanguard. Welcome to you, Thomas. It's great to have you join me in the interview room once again, and what a night it's been for yourself in Detroit. But as I was just mentioning, I have to ask, you're a perfection chaser. Do you feel as though you've missed out slightly with missing out on that win in the sprint today?
No, not all. I mean, I still took away more points over Philip, who won that race. It looks like there's 1 point in it between me and Philip from this round in total on points. So I'm not a perfectionist by any means, but it's one of those tracks where you get in a rhythm and you get going, and that's where the pace really comes. I've been doing a lot of hard work with the team and everything this week, and putting everything I can into this track and into the car to really get a good understanding and get a really good rhythm going. And obviously, it's quite clearly paid off tonight.
Oh, most definitely. It's paid off in multiple stages. And let's start off with qualifying pole position in the end by almost 3.5 attempts. And that's not easy to come by when the competition is that close. Was it the perfect lap for yourself, or was there a bit more time out there?
There definitely was a bit more time out there. I think on my final lap, I had 2 purple sectors in the final parts of the lap, in the final 2 sectors. But I started off a little slow on that lap, but I was still going, I think, a tenth or 2 faster, like 0.2 or 0.3 faster. But I actually ran out of fuel on the final lap, so I had to abort it and finish it there. But obviously, it was still a 29.8, which I was happy with. I knew qualifying, if I could get a sub 30, would really be the optimal point and sort of kind of untouchable. And it quite clearly showed tonight that no one even got close to the 29s.
The 29s may not have been available, but definitely fast times available to yourself. And thank you for explaining what happened right at, because we did see you going purple on the second half of your final lap. Unfortunately, just missing a couple of key litres of fuel, but still enough to put you on pole by quite a stretch. And then going into the first race, it looked as though it was a good start off the line, albeit Hammer was relentless with the pressure on the opening lap.
Yeah, Hammer's been putting some hard work in as well. I've seen him out and about and around. Yeah, like I said, this track is so difficult. You put 1 foot wrong and someone's all over your rear end, and that first race did prove to be a little bit more difficult. I wanted to prove a little bit more in the earlier stages of the evening before it got harder with the traffic in the second race. But yeah, Hammer put some really good pace early on in that first race.
And just with regards to the first race, of course, where does Philip Hammer, not too far behind, is his teammate Nicholas Nold as well. And they come in pairs in post race, and it looked as though more and more of your time in that race was being spent having to look rearwards rather than forwards towards the end, as Hammer just gradually started to smooth himself off into the distance. How do you find it, the fact that you have to look both forwards and backwards at a circuit where you ideally just want to keep both eyes on the road?
To be fair, I weren't really paying attention to Noldy behind. I know he's a really good driver. He's also a really sensible driver. He won't put his nose where it's not deserved. So yeah, I knew I could trust him behind to not make any stupid moves. So I was just focusing forward, doing the pace I knew that I had, trying my best to catch up to Philip, who I had a slowdown quite early on in the first race, which put me behind Nicholas and Oyston quite early on in the race. So from that point on, it was just focus forward, get the best position I can for this race, and then we'll look forwards into the race too. But yeah, Noldy put some really good pace and pressure on in that first race, and Philip put some good pace out, and yeah, it was really close for the short blast that it was of a race.
We're going from the short blast of race number 1 to the more extended feature of race number 2, starting from P9 on the grid and very quickly off of the launch, starting to make up places at a circuit where making places is difficult to say the least.
Yeah, I knew the key to having a good race 2 was getting a good quick start. I think I made I think I caused Sean's crash. He says it's all right. We've had a chat and hashed it out, but I do think I was the reason Sean crashed early on on turn 2 really. Whether it was my fault, I don't think he's going to protest it, but yeah. Either way, yeah, I knew pace was going to be harsh with the traffic, so I knew I needed to make up positions early. Got a lucky break with the Sean incident that we managed to evade that, and then also went 3 wide with 2 of the silver drivers, obviously Lucas Romano. Had a little bit of a fight back and kind of ruined himself, getting into the wall quite hard, trying to make the block pass on me. I don't know why he wanted to make that move. It was a fight between silver and gold, and yeah, sometimes the fights baffle me a little bit, but yeah, he wanted to keep his nose in front, which if he wants to, he can. But yeah, got ahead of him, and then just focused forward then for the top 4 drivers of Oyston, Marcel, Kyle, and Austin, I think it was.
Oh, indeed, and continue to make that progress. And as the race went on and you hunting those remaining places, the ambient light started to fall as well, with the race ending night time. And I have to ask, how does that change the way you perhaps approach the circuit, or how does that make the circuit perhaps feel different compared to daytime?
It doesn't change too much of the track. The track's still the exact same. It just affects the lighting and how much you see around the track. You lose a bit of your reference points around the track, especially with how dark it was and how narrow the headlights actually can be when you look at them from the inside view. But yeah, it's one of those tracks when you put the hard work in and a lot of time on track. I think I've done 10-15 hours on this track this week so far. You kind of know when and can anticipate where the corner is before it actually is there. So you actually can almost run the track a little bit blindfolded. So when the dark lights went out and it was pretty dark on track, you could focus on your driving and knowing where you are on track and running against yourself instead of running against the walls. With that said, it's still easy to get out in the wall. I think a couple of times I got a little wide and had a little tap, but nothing too severe to cause minor damage or major damage. But yeah, it's still a really difficult track in the day or the night, to be fair.
100%. I think many, including of viewers today, would agree with you on that in the entirety, and they're just getting it from the perspective of looking at the broadcast cameras, not being out of the circuit. But then, of course, with the win in our second race of the day, major points gained, and like you say, gain a little bit more ground on your main championship rival of Philip Hammer. And in a week's time, we make our way to Spain for the Motorland Aragon circuit. How are you feeling for the highly technical and twisty Spanish circuit?
I'm feeling very similar to this week. I've already put quite a bit of practice in. I've run previous events there with really good pace, so I'm hoping that can translate really well and come back to me for next week. So we'll see. Hopefully the pace will be the exact same, and it should be even better for the guys in the impulse cars. So we'll see. Obviously after today they've got a lot of work they need to put in to get in the race days for next week, but I'm pretty sure they'll be eager to try and beat me next week and stamp their authority back in the championship.
Well, indeed, and we look forward to, I mean, every time we see the grid and the lineup is some combination of Olympus XGD6 versus Impulse Racing. It gets everyone's heart absolutely pumping, mine indeed in the commentary booth. But just before we look to let you go, Thomas, two quick last questions. Of course, you're running the special livery for the whole of this month in the form of breast cancer awareness. A lovely livery on the Olympus XGD6 car. And in terms of if anybody's curious as to what's happening at Olympus Esports, would you mind just providing us again a little bit of background as to why you're running the livery?
Yeah, so over Olympus, we've been hit really hard recently, in and around some of our drivers. We've had, I think, 4 drivers now have had the form of cancer run through their family in some form or way. Some of it's hit more than others. Some have been distant family. We've had one driver whose mother has been hit with it really hard, so he's really struggling. And we've also got a couple of females within the team of Olympus, just to show our team diversity. But yeah, we're really supporting the cause. Every driver, once again, is running the livery, doing everything they can, and I will put the win tonight and the mega pace that we did have on track out to the women that are fighting their little battles. We all know the hard times that everyone can go through, but sometimes some fights are a little harder than others. And we respect everyone who's fighting their own battles in their own minds.
100% with you on that, and indeed the fight against breast cancer continues, and everything we can do to bring awareness to the cause, all the better. Indeed, that being done by yourself and the team at Olympus Esports. And then lastly, Thomas, as always, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast tonight?
Yeah, the whole Olympus Esports team and squad, they all put in the work as always, and they put in even extra work this week to get ready for this even harder track than normal. It's alright going around tracks like Aragon where you've got some nice runoffs, but Detroit, you get punished for one little mistake you make, and we've put some real hard work in, and everyone behind the scenes have put real hard work in getting ready for today for myself. And their own races, as some of us have races around here as well. Yeah, so the whole Olympus Esports squad, Charles for even getting me on the grid again, and putting me here. And all the sponsors, IMB, Raceware, HSR Autos, Group Engineering, for the amazing setup building, working together with us, giving us the perfect car to really compete and put down some really good pace today. And then all my friends and family as always, and work friends, they'll all be watching, supporting, especially when this goes live on YouTube. They'll see it on there and they'll really get a good kick out of the pace that I had tonight.
Oh, I think they definitely will, as we see pictures there of you running incredibly close to the wall, coming out of turn at number 11. But with that, Thomas, it gives me a great pleasure to say, once again, congratulations on your win in the feature race and your runner-up spot in the heat race day. A fantastic pair of results to continue your championship campaign, and we look forward to plenty more from you as you continue your battle into Motorland Aragon in a week's time. But until then, all the best as always, and thank you for joining me in the interview room.
Thank you very much, Paul.
So hearing there for the Olympus XGD6 Championship title defender in the gold class of Thomas Cope. And today talking about the fact that whilst he's not necessarily a perfectionist, working incredibly hard to get things right at the Detroit Grand Prix at Belle Isle circuit. In the fact, in qualifying, nailing qualifying by 3.5 attempts. And even then on a fast lap on what was his final lap, only to run out of fuel just before hitting the timing line. And what could have been an even fast lap? Well, we were never to see what it would be, but you imagine there's perhaps a tenth or two definitely in there. But then going into the races and a slowdown in the first race, the heat race, cost him dear, putting him to the back of the top 5 and having to surge his way back through, but doing so into P2, setting him up for a classic battle versus rival Philip Hammer in the opening corners in the feature race. But in the end, able to get the launch, but ends up in a bit of contact with Sean Cranley Swash, and along the way, he settled the differences there with the 24-hour Punty People driver, albeit they settled it down in the paddock in terms of talking about it. And well, all results, of course, provisional until post-race stewarding is conducted. But still, look beyond that to a win, whereas we've seen it in the pictures here, just running away from the field after clearing the silver and gold drivers around him. At the same time, having to work hard, make those overtakes, and that effort definitely being noticed each and every lap he's turned here today. And with more effort to go in to Motorland Aragon in a week's time, and for Thomas Cope and the Olympus XGDC team, how far can they go as they reach the midpoint of the season? Well, only time will tell a week from now. As we then come on to our final interview of today, ladies and gentlemen, very shortly we're going to be hearing from the UK Sim Racing admin team driver of Chris Eddersford, and as he gets ready to join me in at the interview room, it definitely has been one of those days where he's had to work hard at the graft in order to get the results, but they came in particular in the final race. And as he joins me now in the interview room, good evening to you, Chris. It's been a little time since we last caught up with you, I should say, but what a day it's been for yourself today. You're talking about prior to going racing, the fact that it looked so you were struggling on pace, but it seemed as though as the evening went on, something clicked, and it clicked in the form of a P2 in class in the feature race.
Yeah, it's it's time at the minute. I'm in the middle of setting up a new business, so it's not getting much time at the moment. But I have had a bit of time over the last day or two, and actually, to be honest with you, I'd actually carved out a portion of today. We was hoping to carve out a portion of today to do a bit more practice, but the iRacing maintenance put a stop to that. But yeah, you're right. It's I did the race before our league race, and I think I did something like 15 places in the race, so I got a bit of a boost from that.
Well, what a way to set yourself up mentally going into tonight. And speaking firstly about qualifying, now of course the top 10 primarily being dominated by gold drivers and quite notable gaps between the top 10. However, when we look at the fact that Carl Felvers, for example, P10 in qualifying, P2 in the silver class, from him all the way through to yourself, there's a grand total of a second separating the best part of 8 drivers. And well, you in the end only, 300ths off of Sean Dobie, a further, 1/10 of a half of a Sean Cranny Swash. It's not just a reflection on the fact that your pace was gradually being found over the day, but also how close this field is over the course of the season.
Yeah, I actually had a far better lap in quali that I 0x'd on the last corner. I think it would have been a 31.5. I don't know where that would have put me. But yeah, qualifying was usually in the Chris way, messed up, quite frankly. But yeah, I did have a fairly decent lap, caught off in the last corner by a net code against the wall, I think.
It was very unfortunate you weren't quite allowed to have that lap register, because I do believe that would have put you right up into what was the periphery of the top 10. I think, in fact, just behind Kyle Felvers as we double check the timings. But still, what wasn't to be, we translate onto what was to be in the heat race. And then started P17 and P6 in class. In the end, finishing P15 overall and P7 in the class, it looked so for every step you're able to take forward in the heat, you took one step back or to the side.
Yeah, I got turned around in the first lap of the heat, so I lost quite a lot of time there. At the start, I had a good start, but then I got boxed in and kind of had to hold back, and then I think it was like turn 5 or 6, I got turned around. So the heat was in the bin, unfortunately. But I did manage to gain a few places back, which is good.
Indeed, every place regained, proving important when you lined up on the grid for the feature. And just talking about the transition from the heat to the feature race, of course, this circuit being one of those ones, as we've heard from both Carl and Thomas before yourself, one where the walls are always looming close and there's that pressure not to make contact with the wall. But how do you balance that 12-minute heat race, particularly when you've had a spin and you've got to recover, versus not putting it in the wall? Surely there must be some sort of control you have to apply, or how do you make sure you're going fast, but you're not going too fast?
If I'm being honest with you, in the heat, I just sense it, because I had nothing to lose. I think I was at the back of silver at one point, so I thought I might as well try and get some points and make my position in the feature race a little bit further up the grid, because it's super hard to overtake round there. I think there was a point where even in the heat race, I was probably a good half a second a lap quicker than the car in front, but I just could not get through until the last lap. I was trying to hunt the good old rival Jeremy down, but he managed to get ahead of that car and then got a little bit of a gap. But I'm thinking that it might be close between myself and Jeremy. Although saying that, looking at the standings, I think he's got like 20 points on me at the minute. But I'm thinking it's going to be similar to last season, hopefully.
Oh, most definitely. At the rate of Not Sure moving, I suspect it's going to be close between the two of you as the season rages on. And coming on to the feature race, of course, starting from what was P15 on the grid and ended up second place in the class P10 overall. Looked like quite a few drivers ended up in a couple of incidents in the early stages, perhaps the most notable one, of course, being the silver pole sitter of Sean Cranny Swash, who had a difficult start off the line and into turn number 1. But for yourself, it looks like you found your momentum, found your rhythm, and you found the places where you needed to make the overtakes happen.
Yeah, I think I was quite fortunate today, to be honest with you. The pace was there, but there was a few incidents that happened. I think Lucas crashed, Sean crashed, Casper, I think I maybe made one or two passes as well. I'm not sure who exactly, but if I'm being honest with you, at the moment that I kind of looked up and saw that Kyle was in first and second for quite large chunks of the race, and I was in second in silver, and seemingly it seemed as though there was quite a big gap between me and the next silver for whatever reason. I'm not sure why that was. I just completely backed off, to be honest with you, and was just happy to take the second, really. I just thought there's no point pushing and putting my car in the wall.
Well, that's a fair play, and I think the right approach to take with regards to the points being so important as we head into the mid-portion of the season. And, well, speaking of important points to come, big points haul today from yourself, and even more potentially in Spain in a week's time at Motorland Aragon, perhaps?
Yeah, I hope so. I'm actually taking the week off next week, so I'm hoping to get some sim time in. So all being well, should be more competitive there. I'm not actually sure whether I know the track or not. If I'm being honest with you, I can't remember. So might have to learn it, but that type of track suits me better than the tracks that we've had so far. I mean, I've not driven this track for a very, very long time, and Kota, I'd never driven Kota, and I just hated it, if I'm being honest with you. I can't remember what the first race was. Interlagos. I was pretty disappointed with Interlagos. Usually I have pretty good pace around there, but I think I got turned. In fact, I did get turned at Interlagos, so that was why.
Well, it looks as though you're gradually turning things around, no pun intended, with regards to your championship campaign. And we look forward to seeing what you're able to achieve at Motorland Aragon, at a circuit, like you say, it will suit your driving style perhaps a little bit more closely. But just before we do let you go, Chris, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast tonight?
Yeah, usual yourself for the fantastic broadcasts that are becoming even more popular. I don't think I actually messaged you, but we hit 400 concurrent viewers on Sunday, which is a record by some margin for UK sim racing. The admin team, the stewarding team, lots of hard work goes on in the background. All the drivers in the league, everyone in the mental health channel that kind of helps with people that have got issues, everyone that helped Paul and his family around the tragic loss of Katie. The response from the community was absolutely amazing on that. And yeah, everyone really, everyone that makes UK sim racing what it is today, really.
Well, Chris, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you join me in the interview room, and some huge achievements over the last week from UK Sim Racing, both on a broadcast level but also on a community level, and just showing how dear this community is to so many. And indeed, you're a major part of that, and on the grid as well, a major part of the racing today. And we look forward to seeing plenty more racing action from yourself in a week's time in Spain. But until then, all the best as always, and have a fantastic rest of your evening.
Cheers for your time. Have a good evening, Paul. Bye-bye now.
So hearing that there from Chris Eddersford in the silver class, and the UK Sim Racing admin team driver, really talking about the fact one of the biggest perhaps handicaps going into tonight was the deficit of practice, but finding a way to get some practice in right in the closing moments before he went racing, and in particular doing a practice official race just beforehand and building his confidence. And that confidence was growing today, and that's what we could see. Qualifying not quite working out the way he wanted it to, with his final lap, which was a much faster lap, having it to be aborted due to a contact with a wall, or a 0x as he's referring it to. But then going into the heat race again, early progress made, only to be turned and sent all the way to the back of the grid, being turned in the run through turns 4, 5 and 6 in the opening lap. As he then made his way up to speed, recovering places as best he could, and then line up P15 in the feet race. And there he pulled the trigger once more, and this time he hit his mark. In the fact, taking P10 overall and P2 in the class. Many a driver around him in the class making mistakes, but not for Chris. And that faultless run in the feet race could be the delta that carries him forward into Spain. And perhaps we'll see that continue at a circuit which, in his own words, may suit his driving style a bit more. But we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out for the UK Sim Racing admin team driver when he goes onto the tarmac at Motorland Aragon in a week's time. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our interviews there with our drivers, our volunteer drivers. Firstly, of HFT Racing's Carl Felvis in the silver class, Thomas Cove in the gold class for Olympus X GD6, and Chris Eddersford in the silver class there for UK Sim Racing admin team. And we'd just like to draw your attention to a couple of things that were mentioned by Chris in his interview there. Firstly, with regards to the viewership that occurred on Sunday, that's with respect to what was around, if my memory serves me correctly, what was round number 4 of the UK Sim Racing GT3 GTP Multi-Class League Season 1. Definitely recommend it, checking out if you haven't done so, if you enjoy multi-class racing. Not to detract from the fantastic Porsche Cup racing we've had today, but definitely an absolutely high calibre of league racing there, in a similar calibre to what you've seen today. And also, as part of that broadcast, we had a special tribute to Paul Lousteau and his family, and in particular to their daughter, Katie Lousteau, who, after battling with what was a serious illness for the best part of 2 years, unfortunately did lose her life as of last week. But we held a number of events at UK Sim Racing to support the Lousteau family, and particularly Katie, through the troubled time over the last 2 years. Perhaps the most notable being the race for Katie, held back in November 2021. And indeed, the UK Sim Racing community all banded together for a great cause for a member of the community. And indeed, we continue to do so at UK Sim Racing. We'd just like to draw your attention to that. But coming back to our interviews, congratulations to all 3 of our interviews on their performances today, and thank you to them all for joining me in the interview room, and best wishes to them in their preparations for next week's rounds. But now, ladies and gentlemen, attention turns to what is lying ahead, and we must say thank you very much for watching. And if you have enjoyed today's show, and perhaps you want to know more about the sim racing community, well, there's 3 things we recommend you check out. Firstly, a quick reminder that we have just popped in the Driver of the Day vote form once again in the Twitch chat. In case you haven't voted for your Driver of the Day, do let us know, and well, you need to let us know by midnight tonight, British Summer Time, that's BST, or Universal Coordinated Time +1 at UTC +1. But also, secondly, what we'd like to recommend is, if you want to know more about the UK Sim Racing community, do check out our official website. That's uksimracing.co.uk. You saw that on the broadcast earlier this evening, and then you can find out all about our ongoing and upcoming leagues, and also a little bit more about the community as a whole. However, if you don't want to go to our website, perhaps you're more of a social media person, well, number one place to go to outside our website is our official Twitter, and that is at twitter.com/UK Sim Racing _, where you can also keep up to date with all the latest competitive action from the official UK Sim Racing esports teams. We'd also like to take this moment to say a big thank you to our affiliates, including Swilio Amida Sim Racing Coaching, the creator of the Motor Racing Checklist. Swilio Amida Sim Racing Coaching can help take your sim racing driving to the next level. Whether you're looking to gain a 10th, improve your approach to a racing line, or develop your consistency, Swilio Amida has a coaching course to meet your needs. Plus, with Swilio being a multi-time champion of the official iRacing series, including the 2021 PSCC, you know you're receiving coaching from the very best in the industry. Also, Race Anywhere, the provider of curated sim racing equipment aimed to only stock products that represent excellent value for the sim racing community. Demon Tweaks, the provider of the most complete and innovative motorsport product range available worldwide, so no matter what your level of discipline, Demon Tweaks can help drive you to realise your motorsport ambitions. SimLab, the lead manufacturer of high-quality sim racing related hardware, as a proud partner of Mercedes and Petronas Esports, SimLab aims to enhance virtual racing experiences with uncompromising solutions that push the boundaries of esports and make SimLab the go-to brand for quality sim racing rigs. Amazon, the company trying to be the Earth's most customer-centric company, the Earth's best employer, and the Earth's safest place to work through the provision of concepts pioneered by Amazon, which do include but are not limited to Amazon Prime, Amazon Fire tablets, and Amazon Fire TV. And lastly, SRC Driver Academy, a division of Sim Racing Community. Elevate your sim racing skills at SRC Driver Academy. Their team of experienced professionals is dedicated to helping you reach your full potential without compromise on quality. But why choose SRC? To put it simply, affordable, quality coaching. They have experienced coaches who provide valuable insights and a competitive edge. They make high-quality coaching accessible to all at an affordable cost tailored to your needs and goals. You can learn race strategies, position driving, and much more, and they offer virtual coaching sessions at nearly all hours of the day, every day, ensuring flexibility for all. So join SRC Driver Academy today and unlock your true sim racing potential. Do visit their website to learn more and accelerate your sim racing career. But now, ladies and gentlemen, our drivers will be looking ahead to the next pair of rounds for on Thursday, the 26th of October 2023. Save the date, we make our way to Spain, and with it, rounds 6 and 7 will take place at the Motorland Aragon circuit. A highly complex and technical circuit with a wide variety of corners, from hairpins through to sweepers and chicanes. It is a circuit which will see our drivers' nuance for cornering capabilities push the ultimate limit, and setup and driving skill will be in equal measure critical if our drivers want to come out on top. But we're representing the midway point of the season. Will we see some drivers bring some surprises there, or will our championship favourites begin to emerge even further, and perhaps we'll see those championship battles start to become restricted at the very top of the standings? Well, all that and more will be found out in a week's time. But until then, we've been UK Sim Racing. I've been your host and commentator, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britain Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And until next time, remember to stay well, stay safe, stay smiling, but most importantly, remember to stay on track. Good night.